telling you, we're getting a huge like cosmic being coming our way. That's what. I think.
Would it just be like Galactus or something?
I think it's Galactus. Captain Marvel's probably dealing with the impact of it, and that's going to tie into Captain Marvel too. Out of the two. It is. It is.
Oh shit! Yeah, stream wasn't hearing me until now because I'm retarded. That happens sometimes.
No,
But
really, again.
Yeah, I do that every time. I gotta, yeah. Next time, I'm sure I'll fix it. But oh hey, voice arrived at the right time. But yeah, today we're gonna be talking about Shang-Chi with, well, without Zod and Tin because they're cringe, but with 3 guests. Hey Brit, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Ganma.
Thank you. Madvocate, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you, Marcus?
I'm doing great, other than having watched Shang-Chi twice. Voice,
Nice.
the radio. Hello, how are you?
Hello there. God, you watched it twice?
Yeah, I had to rewatch it yesterday to take notes, and yeah, it was Skype painful. Yeah.
You poor man. I watched it once over the course of like 3 days.
Did you?
It was still too much.
Did you go to the theaters or did you watch on Extremely 100%?
Oh God, no.
Yeah, legal means, I guess.
Did you
no,
go to the theaters across the 3 days?
I went to the quote unquote theaters. Yes.
Ah, yes. Okay. Yeah, I watched it the first time in theaters, and I watched it with a couple friends, and they were really annoyed that I kept talking during the film. I was like, this makes no sense, and pointing out problems.
Shut up.
Yeah, they didn't like that I was criticizing the film, especially when like 5 seconds into the film I was already sighing because they introduced this new faction called the Ten Rings that had been around, I guess, since Roman Empire times, but we never heard of them before, which we'll get to that. But before that, I wanna go from left to right, asking just, I guess, summarize thoughts about the film in a couple sentences. What did you think, Brit? What did you think of Shang-Chi?
It wasn't good. I saw it like a couple hours ago, so I haven't like fully formed like a in-depth, summary of my thoughts yet. But I think it was like I didn't have like high expectations for it because like the MCU as of recent and as it's looking to be as a whole is not great. But I heard like a lot of stuff about Shang-Chi and how people think it's like pretty good. And I didn't think it was going to be amazing, because like I said, because the MCU is at the moment. But I didn't expect it to be as bad as it was. Partly because I expected it to kind of be like a side movie. You know how like, I don't know, Iron Man 2 isn't the most consequential movie in the franchise, as compared to like Endgame and Infinity War and those movies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a pretty big disappointment. I didn't have I don't know anything about Shang-Chi as like a character from the comics, so I don't know. I don't know if anyone's like a Shang-Chi fan.
I don't think
But-
anyone like knows a lot about Shang-Chi from the comics, to be honest. He's a very like unknown character, even more so than the Guardians ever were.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, you kind of get the sense that they wanted this to be like their own, like their own. The newer version of like Black Panther, where it's like, oh wow, look, we have a cast of all these, Asian people, and it's going to be great. But it didn't. I don't know. I forgot it was a thing until like a couple weeks ago, and I'm gonna forget it's a thing by tomorrow. It's not the most memorable movie, but it's not good. Should I give like a rating, or are we just gonna do that at the end?
Yeah, give a rating. I'm curious if it'll change by the end of the stream.
Well, when I first saw it and I came back, I said to the group chat that I'm in with Marcus and Sheb and the other losers, that I thought it was like a 5 out of 10 at best, or 4 out of 10 at best. And then Jeb said one of the points about how what's his name, the bad guy, I forgot.
Man.
Wenwu.
Wenwu, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the other way around.
Yeah. I got it wrong
He's
a few
older than
times in my notes
Jesus.
as well. Yeah, he's older than Jesus.
Yeah. And then we just went down like a rabbit hole of how ridiculous that is.
God.
But yeah, it's not good. I think it's probably one of the better movies that'll come, MCU movies that'll come out. The ones that are coming out soon, like Eternals, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange 2. I think it'll probably be better than those. But yeah, it's not it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't
But,
like break
yeah.
reality as a whole, but world building is really, really broken. So I guess 4 or 5 is your rating?
I'd give it a 3
3.
because of the rabbit hole that we went down in the group chat.
All right, that's fair enough. Jeb, what did you think of Shang-Chi, the Legend of the Ten Rings?
So I went to saw it with my girlfriend because that's cringe. Spending time with women.
Should have touched some grass.
Within the first 3 minutes, I was like, when will Marvel learn to stop adding organizations that have been influencing history for years upon years? Why is this a new trend for the MCU to do this? And from there, I was like, yeah, this isn't going to be no good. Then I went out of the theater, and I was like, okay, I'm going to say a 4. And I confronted Marcus, who said it was a 5, and I was like, no, lower. And then we started talking about it more. Brit and I started talking about it more, and it just got lower and lower. And now I'm at a 2. This is a 2 out of 10. Marcus said this thing about how it's like Captain Marvel tricks you to think it's mediocre, and I'm inclined to agree. The Mandarin is one of the worst MCU villains, quite easily. It destroys the world building. The Ancient One and the Sorceress are dead yet again. The MCU just won't leave them alone. Shang-Chi, not really a good hero, not gonna lie. And all the other characters are flat. And then Katie's like, she makes Darcy not annoying. So yeah, 2. I hate this film.
All right. Madvocate, and what are your thoughts on Shang-Chi?
I guess I kind of enjoyed like the first half as like a turn your brain off consumer perspective,
Right.
but then even like the third act was just way too much for a primitive brain. That was just a whole lot of sludge and not very not good looking visuals, so that didn't help either. I think the thing that bothered me the most, because I watched Iron Man 1 and 3 before the day before I saw this in preparation.
I'm sorry you had
Just
to watch
'cause,
Iron Man 3.
Well, I kind of enjoy that movie. I know it's not good, but I guess it's just a bit of mindless, dumb action fun.
Right.
But yeah, I watched it in preparation because I was very curious to see if they were going to retcon or destroy any previous setup about the Ten Rings in those movies. And I think, yeah, it does, and I'm looking forward to discussing that. Let's see, what else is there? Yeah, that was one of the... Oh, and just the... Yeah, Mandarin is awful. Or I guess we can't even call him that because he makes fun of the name in this movie,
Yeah,
which
the name
is
Mandarin
also a
was
retcon.
created by Aldrich Killian, apparently, which is dumb.
Which
But,
is
oh,
true anyway.
also,
Which makes all
What I
Hail the
didn't-
King even more funny.
I didn't get
Seems
to
like
watch...
it's petty.
Just real quick, Dominic the Donkey super
Oh, yeah.
chatted saying, "Hello, Brit, Jab, Madvocate, Marcus, and Radio. Hope you all are having a great day." Hello and thank you. Yes.
Hello.
Having
Thank
a
you,
good day.
Thank you,
Dominic.
we are.
I watched Shang-Chi today, so... But it was an alright day. The cinema was pretty good. Although it had an autistic person in it, and they clapped.
I think I was the autistic person in my theater because after the lights came on after the last post-credit scene, everyone was looking at me. I think because I was talking through the entire film, but it happens, I guess. I was just like knee-jerk reaction of laughing at stuff, and people were just like staring at me because I laughed at a lot of stuff that wasn't like supposed to be funny. But yeah. And sorry for cutting you off, Madvick, if you want to continue.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get to watch, because I've seen the Marvel one-shot, I think it's called. Have you guys seen it? Like, All Hail the King?
I haven't,
Were they-
but I know what happens in it.
Ridiculous.
Where they basically retcon the whole Mandarin twist in Iron Man 3 because of the public outrage about that, and they're like, no, don't worry guys, the real Mandarin is still out there. And basically it's some guy who comes to interview Trevor Slattery in prison, and I think he just asks him a whole bunch of questions. I saw this years ago. I forgot to watch it before watching the movie. He just basically interviews him, and he's like, there's someone who would like to meet you, and Trevor's like, oh, do I know him? And he's like, nope, but you took his name. So even this movie isn't consistent with that, because apparently the Mandarin name was just made up by Aldrich Killian, even though this guy who I guess was sent by Wu Wang. Did I say that wrong again?
Yeah, it's Wenwu.
God damn it! This interviewer guy, who I'm assuming was sent by Wenwu. I mean, he outright says you took his name, so he's supposed to be Mandarin, but then this movie says he's not actually Mandarin. So I was bothered that they couldn't even fucking keep up with the name.
Well, is that like confirmed 100% canon that
Yes, it ties in to this and is referenced by
Yeah.
Trevor in the film,
that's
which is like, what the fuck?
that's really dumb then.
Yeah, they just wanted to turn the Mandarin name into a joke in this movie.
Yeah, I guess they
I'm gonna-
realized it was an issue in Iron Man 3 and they just were like, yeah, let's pretend like it was just a joke and do it properly this time. I don't know.
I'm gonna drop a hot take. The Mandarin stuff in Iron Man 3 is better than in this because it doesn't destroy world building as much.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah,
if
definitely.
that's the case.
I'm gonna. Sorry to interrupt. I've got guests I need to say goodbye to, but I will be back in 5-10 minutes. Please feel free to continue and give your summary, Marxus, and I'll be back
All right.
shortly.
No problem.
Okay.
All right. Just real quick before we move on, because Editron also sent a super chat saying MCU cringe, which I think is a very apt description of this film.
Ridiculous.
Oh, and
Yeah.
Etanos now also sent a super chat saying Pimp Daddy M, you are my favorite host. And fuck you for creating that nickname for me, Etanos. That it hurts my soul. But yeah, Madvocate, do you have anything else you'd like to talk about the film?
Yeah, I think those were just the biggest things that annoyed me from it, and I'm looking forward to just discussing more in depth and detail about those parts of it.
All right. What would you rate the film out of 10 at this point?
Right now maybe like a 4 or 3.
All right.
I'm sure that's gonna change as we discuss it.
Yeah. All right, that's fair enough. Guess it's my turn now. So I watched the film Friday in theaters, and I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it wasn't good. The choreography was really shit. The CGI and cinematography was terrible. The acting wasn't great, other than Wenwu. I think he was the only like actually good actor. But in terms of like story, I thought it was pretty fine. I thought Shang-Chi had a pretty decent arc first time I watched, and I was like, okay, that's fair enough. 5 out of 10, I guess, which is a lot better than the rest of Phase 4. Then yesterday, I was talking to Jeb all day because he watched the film. Lowered the film from a 5 to a 4, considering the amount of world building issues. But then I was gonna rewatch it anyway to take notes. Shang-Chi is not on Disney Plus, Etanos. But yeah, I rewatched it to take notes, and I realized that the film is a lot worse than I thought it was. Where I lowered it from when I first watched it, it was a 5. After rewatching it yesterday, I gave it a 2 out of 10. And I think there's pretty much nothing that works about this film. World building wise, it's a disaster, and it just basically renders the entire MCU impossible to have happened the way it did because of how they established the 10 rings to work. The 10 rings as in the faction created by Wenwu, and not just the rings as in the weapons. But and like also in terms of how it relates to the sorcerers and the Ancient One especially, it's quite impressive how they just don't realize that this film is supposed to be part of a larger universe, even though they're trying to make it clearly being part of a larger universe by having Wong be like a character that's that shows like, you know, I think 2 scenes of the film. The last scene and the scene where they fight in the Golden Daggers Club. So it is pretty impressive how terrible it is, and I think the characters are much worse than people realize, and I think it's because the film just does surface level things and has like one scene where they actually try to give Shang-Chi character development, which doesn't really work considering his history, which we'll probably get into today. So I think it's like a really, really bad film, and pretty much on par with everything else coming out in Phase 4, to be honest. And I said this before the stream started, but I kind of like dislike this film more than Black Widow, because like I think I can laugh more at Black Widow, but I cannot. But I just really don't enjoy Shang-Chi. I think it is in every level really bad, and yeah, those are my thoughts on the film. So now that we've given these thoughts, I guess let's talk about the world building of the film. Jeb,
boy.
what did you think of the 10 Rings as a new faction? Oh shit, hold on. I just realized there's another super chat from Dominic. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the other guest, Pimp Daddy M. Fuck you, Dominic. Jesus fucking Christ. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, fuck you for giving us money.
Yeah, fuck you for calling me Pimp Daddy M, but if it's gonna mean giving us money, I think I'm okay with it. But yeah, now, Jeb, What did you think of the Ten Rings?
Well, so I was like, man, when we had Hydra, I was like, okay, they can't do this, changing history again. Then we got Dracoff with Black Widow, and that was worse than Hydra. I'm like, okay, you're not going to repeat this mistake again. And then they went, Ten Rings. The Ten Rings should generally be the ruler of Earth for all time. They've been around since Jesus was around because we see them deal with the Roman Empire. For people who don't know, the Roman Empire started before Christ and then into the after the death of Christ in calendar years. And we know explicitly that all Mandarin wants is power before he meets Shang-Chi's mum. So it's like, why aren't you to rule the Earth for centuries upon centuries? And if he's ruled the Earth, that means everything you see in the MCU on Earth, and even Guardians, is fundamentally different. Because Peter Quill isn't going to really exist.
Yeah.
Black Panther, Wakanda, no. Captain America, no. The Avengers, no. You name it. There is no MCU if the Ten Rings functioned. And that's why immediately it dropped by 2 points for me in the opening 2 minutes.
Yeah, they have this faction, and they say that that Wenwu has like, he wants to conquer everything. All he wants is power, and that's all he wanted. And he had 2,000 years with the strongest weapon on Earth, and I guess he just didn't take over the entire world, even though the film is like, see, he conquered everything he could on Earth, and now he wanted to conquer. And now when he didn't have anything left to conquer on Earth, he went to Talo. But it's like, no, not really. He didn't, because like, it was 1996. He didn't control all of Earth, because like, especially because we've never heard of Wenwu before that in any other film. So it's just, okay, so Wenwu for some reason just went against his core motivation, which was to have power and conquer Earth. So that already just kind of breaks his character and breaks the world building, because if his character worked the way they say he would, then basically he would have ruled Earth for like 2,000 years, and like, he wouldn't have any way of being fought against because of how powerful the rings are.
Let's add some spice into this. So, to put a perspective of how old he is, he was there whilst Odin came to Earth. He was there when the Frost Giants came to Earth. He was there before the Ancient One.
Oh yeah, the Ancient One was born, I think, 1317 when I checked the wiki for writing my notes. So.
And the only thing I could think of that he doesn't outdate is the Agamotto, the Eye of Agamotto and Agamotto's Sorcerer. But if it played out as it should, he should have the Time Stone then, because he should have taken on the Sorcerers.
Well, that's
and then he should have.
That's the thing. He should have tried to grab the stones. Like when he saw in World War II that they were just using the Tesseract for creating weapons, he should have done that and gotten the Tesseract to create his own weapons to, help his army, because the point is that he wants an army to rule Earth, so that makes it easier for him. Not to mention that the way Red Skull finds the Tesseract in the first Avenger is by like legend, right? Of like, yeah, this is, I guess it's here. And because of that, you'd think that Shang-Chi would have been, not Shang-Chi, Wenwu would have been able to find the Tesseract way before Red Skull ever did. So, like I said, nothing in the MCU works with Wenwu existing as a character.
Yeah, he should have 2 Infinity Stones and the 10 Rings, which means he would be able to take on Thanos to some extent.
Yeah, easily. And it's also like, not to mention how the fact that he has the 10 rings, he should have been able to use the 10 rings to create new weapons from it, in terms of like, he has this amazing technology, he could just use it to replicate it, which is like the same thing that Hydra was doing in World War II. They had the Tesseract that was trying to see how it worked to create weapons from it, and he just never does that with the 10 rings. For some reason, because he's a moron, even though it would benefit him a lot if he had like weapons made out of the Ten Rings to help his army.
I j-
And that's like the first
I
2 minutes of the film, by the way.
Yeah, literally, it's the backstory to explain why he isn't around in modern time, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much.
And this is what I brought up to Brit as well, and he was like, "Oh no, can't be a 5."
Yeah. Yeah, because like without that, the film still wasn't great. Well, the film is terrible even without that, but that just kind of breaks everything. So that's already not a great start. Um, and then I guess after we have that opening scene, um, let's see. Oh yeah, we see in 1996 where Wenwu just tries to find Tallow because I guess he, according to Ying Li, which is Wenwu's wife, she says that Wenwu had conquered everything he could on Earth. So then he wanted to conquer Tallow, which is like um a place in another dimension with like a bunch of mythical creatures, and that's why, and like a lot of magic powers that come from the dragon. So he wanted to conquer that place, and so he comes to the the gate or something of where Tallow is, and then he finds Ying Li, and then they fight, and then for some reason they end up falling in love with each other, and there's not really any reason why that would be the case. um like from the Ying Li's perspective, this guy with weapons that are so powerful that he just toppled the Roman Empire, and she knows how powerful they are because she fought him. And it's implied that maybe she knows something about its history, though the film just kind of contradicts that a few times, but whatever. Um, she just she lets him go, even though she says that if he left, she would spare him, and he didn't leave. So why did she spare him for no reason? And then he comes back and he's like, "Yo, let's go on a date," and they end up like having a picnic. Where it's like, why don't you, Ying Li, think that that Wenwu was trying to manipulate you to open the gate so he can enter Tallow? And she just falls for him, I guess. And for some reason, Wenwu just drops his entire character motivation, which is to conquer more and more and have more power, because he wants to be with this woman that beat him in a fight this one time. Um. So yeah,
I
Wenwu is
just,
not a good character.
I just realised something else.
Mm,
So we know the village obviously disapprove of it,
yeah.
but why didn't they step in earlier on and force this to be the case, given he's an outsider threat?
I guess they wanted Ying Li to have like free will to do what she wanted, to date whoever she wanted. But
That's
that's just kind of retarded because, like I said, Ying Li should have suspected that Wenwu was just manipulating her, and so would the village. So if she
no,
wasn't suspecting it, the village would, and they would like tell her, potentially forbid her from talking to him anymore.
I mean, not even that. You could see he has probably one of the most powerful weapons, and you need to protect your village to save the literal universe. It's like you should be a no policy on outsiders.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange how Tallow has terrible security, right? It's just because the thing with the forest is you can just walk inside it and it's fine, but if you drive a car, then the forest would try to swallow you. So I don't really get how it works either.
Yeah, that that all confused me, and I just realised something else in relation to world building. If it had played out as it should, he would be in charge of all the sorcerer stuff, which means he would be able to easily access Tylo. Like, just go through the universe. It's like the ancient one could practice sorcery.
Actually, now that I think about it, if he had the rings, couldn't he just like fly over the forest to get to the gate of Tallow?
Uh, uh,
I mean, couldn't he just destroy the forest? We know how powerful the rings are. It's just bamboo, and it's easily breakable by like a car driving through it. Like,
That is good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't understand. I don't understand the forest at all.
well, the
Unless it's
forest
like
is strong enough to throw Wenwu's car out of a cliff when they're driving in the flashback scene at the beginning of the film. But then when it's the main characters, when they're driving through it and the forest closes around them, they can just break through that last layer of bamboo and get you the waterfall. It's really dumb. I don't understand how it works. It's really inconsistent.
the only defense you can have in Kara kind of just raised there is that where it's magic based, you have to go through the maze for the gate to appear. But
But then
they,
why
they
would
never really
then
made
how
that clear.
then how did he just randomly end up walking through the forest and find Yingli?
I wish I knew.
Because it's implied that Yingli is like the guardian of the gate, right? Because if not, then why in the fuck is she just near that place? It's useless for her to be there unless it's the gate.
That's actually, yeah. How did he even end up coming across here if it's one time a year and you gotta go this exact path, and
Well,
he doesn't know until during the film?
yeah.
Because
Because the plot needs to happen.
yeah,
This is at this rate it's gonna lower for me because
I mean, Chu is the
that's
lowest it's gonna
unfair.
go unless it's like Loki levels. So
Well, I have Loki at 0, so you know.
yeah, your ratings are cringe, Jeb. We all know that.
If you put Loki any higher than a 0, you need to be shot.
Well, my ratings don't go to a 0 because 0 pretty much means that it's not a film at that point, or
0 I mean
a show.
well,
Zero,
I give it a 1 because I acknowledge it exists.
Exactly, it's just pretty much it. Right, so for me, nothing could be a 0. Like, if I'm like, for example, I'm judging a book as a film, it's gonna be a 0 out of 10 film because it's not a film. If you know what I mean. But because Loki, I'm just judging like the quality of the TV show itself. Just the fact that it is a TV show, it's a 1 out of 10, pretty much. Because like otherwise
That
it wouldn't
being
like be a
said,
story. Like there is some progression of events, even though it makes no sense how it works.
That being said, if someone put a bag over my head and said invent 6 episodes for a Loki centered TV series, I'd probably rate it higher than the actual Loki show.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, probably would end up better.
I just have Loki at a 0 because it destroys the MCU forever.
Yeah, I can understand that. Going
Disgusting
through my
thing.
notes here, which by the way I'm gonna put in the description after the stream is over. But going through my notes here, Wenwu, he is really dumb with the way he uses his rings when he's
Hold on.
fighting. Okay.
I was just gonna say I've just seen Bootneck say Angry Joe said Shang-Chi had great world building.
What? Great world building.
It destroys.
Angry Joe, more like
Destroy-
wrong Joe.
It destroys the
got him.
MCU.
Like, nothing makes sense if Shang-Chi as a film exists. Like, how can you how can you say that? Great world building, Jesus Christ.
MCU fans see visuals with a narrator speaking about something from the past and call it world building.
I mean, in theory, it is world building. It's just not good.
And call it good world building then. God, Marcus, if you're going to be petty. I hate you so much.
Okay, I hate myself too. Don't worry.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Okay, maybe Angry Joe's video could be interesting to cover soon. Cause wow, that is a take. Oh yeah, and Angry Joe loved Loki, right? Didn't he rate it like a 9 out of 10 overall or some shit? It's pretty insane.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Are you? Wait, what? A 9 out of 10 for Loki?
Yeah, I think he gave like half the episodes a 9 and half the episodes a 10.
Are you fucking? You joking?
No, I'm not joking. I'm
I did-
100% serious.
I did not sit through however many hours taking notes for some cunt to call it a 9 or 10.
Yeah. Hey, but
I thought Angry Joe reviewed games.
He needs to delete. As soon as you said about Loki,
He needs-
delete your channel. Don't come back. You're too
It's not
far
how
gone.
it's very-
Yeah,
it's not how it's
I don't
very,
think you
like, can
understand
talk about
how-
media.
Yeah, I don't think you understand, Jeff, how not angry, the normal, like, normie audiences, they just kind of think Loki is a masterpiece. Like, they think it's really
Um,
good. I'm checking right
And
now
this
the
is
rating on
why-
IMDb, but yeah, it's an 8.4 on IMDb,
Oh my god.
which is higher than
Uh,
Legion, for example.
No, okay. And this is why when aliens come to Earth, they'll just exterminate us. They won't even bother trying to see how intelligent we are.
We deserve to be
Oh god.
destroyed because people think
Yeah.
Loki is good.
Unironically, yes.
Yeah, I support that. But yeah, Wenwu, he's not a good fighter. When we see him fighting Yingli, for example, he has like there's a moment where she grabs his right arm and he just doesn't use the rings on his right arm, but his left arm is just hanging around and he never uses it to fight back. And she just keeps like dragging him around the floor, which is retarded. But the issue is like, oh, that fight scene doesn't really matter because like it's not like he was gonna die from that or anything. But he does the exact same thing when Shang-Chi uses that same move in the third act, which is like, okay, so you could, not just lose because you decided to lose. And every fight is littered with instances like that where characters are just acting really dumb. Which, by the way, the one thing this film kind of had going for it was the choreography from the marketing. And the choreography is really, really bad. It's pretty insane how bad it is. I'm not sure
It's so-
if you guys noticed it when watching it, because y'all watch it for just the one time. But the first time I watched it, I was like, this is not good. And the second time I was watching closely the choreography, and I think only the first half of the bus fight is not terrible, but it starts in a way that doesn't make sense.
I'm in the same boat for first viewing. What it did was make it really choppy and fast to make it seem okay, and I'm like, no, there are many open opportunities that are not taken, or characters just forgot how to fight throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was under the same impression because from what I could tell, I suppose like the first half of the movie, whenever there was just normal hand-to-hand combat, I thought it was okay. But also the camera work got horrendous sometimes, and I was like, might be a little trick to get me to think this way that it's decent.
Yeah.
And the second half of the movie, there's no comment on that. It's terrible, especially in the final fight. One of the things that annoyed me the most was one of the establishing scenes, like the flashback, where Wenwu and his army, I forgot where they were. They go and attack some other army from the past. And I think he just goes forward
he
with
attacks the Roman Empire. That's
yeah.
the Romans.
He attacks it himself, like by himself, pretty much, and he annihilates them. And then he doesn't do the same at the end at the village.
Yeah, he walks away and he says burn it down instead of him attacking it.
Yeah,
himself.
he makes his men attack the village instead of just pulling off the same maneuver he did in that flashback. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, and it's really strange as well. Going back to that opening scene now, because the way the Romans defend themselves, they shoot literally every single arrow at Wenwu.
Yeah.
Even though there's an entire army behind Wenwu. And I guess when you pay attention to the choreography, a lot of them are just not attacking Wenwu when he's fighting them like closer. And one thing that I found hilarious, there's a moment, which is how he wins. He throws the rings at like the castle entrance, right? To, I guess, destroy the entrance and get in. When he does that, they're like, he doesn't have the ring, so you'd think he's more vulnerable at that point. But none of the Romans attack him after he throws the rings, even though there's like 30 seconds on screen without him having the rings where he just doesn't have them to defend himself. It's just really dumb. Like, the choreography is like that throughout the film. It does try to look cool, which I don't think it does, but
ridiculous.
It's not great. Oh, and
it's just
sorry, go ahead.
It's just the third act of the film. It's weird. If it wasn't for the over-reliance on humor and the fact that so many things are CGI, I wouldn't even recognize this as a Marvel film. It would be like an over-the-top wuxia, film, which I wonder if that's what they were gunning for. But like, the third act is, I still fail upon reflection to like follow what happens.
Yeah, I
Just
was.
the third act to see, like, there's so many scenes where there's a conversation they have just in a field, and it's just very plain that it's plain to see that the field itself is CGI, that you're on a green screen. It's like you could have gone out just to a field and made this shot.
Oh, it's
Why didn't you?
It's pretty insane how everything is green screened in the film. I really don't get why. Like you said, well, when they're in Talo, every single shot you can tell they're on a green screen. Where it's like, couldn't you just have like like you said, go to a field or build this small set, which is just a village, and just shoot it there? But it's like when you have something like 1917 came out 2 years ago, they built the fucking trenches and it was huge, and they wanted to like have the film appear like one shot, so these sets would have needed to be like huge because you need the sets to connect to one another. It's like, wow, this is a lot of effort, and it looks great because of the amount of effort put into it. And then when you look at Shang-Chi, it's like everything is green screen, and it's like I know they're not there, and it really annoys me that they don't just film on location, which is something that I find hilarious that people are preemptively praising Eternals for, is that Marvel let Chloe Zhao shoot the film on location, when it's like, yeah, that's like the minimum you'd
That's
think a
normal.
film would do. Yeah, it's just really dumb.
I find it.
Just
I was
one
gonna
sec, Jeff. Dominic sent another super chat saying, "Guys, there's an explanation. The TVA melted millions of versions of them until they were stupid for no reason." It all makes sense.
But-
What are you gonna say, Jeff? Jeb? Okay, Jeb died.
Rip jab.
Yeah, Jeb died. That's a shame.
I'm here.
Okay, what
Oh,
were you gonna say, Jeb?
I was gonna say my dad came in. Oh yeah, I find it a recent trend now as well in Marvel where they'll have moments where the third act nothing makes sense, or like the entire episode of Disney Plus doesn't make sense. Like WandaVision finale, I got those vibes in this third act throughout, but I just didn't know what was happening at all.
Well, it's just a lot of CGI stuff hitting the screen, and you can't really tell exactly what's going on. Like this film was like they had two dragons fighting, and one of them could control water, so it was throwing water at the other dragon, even though the water wasn't working the way it should. It didn't make sense how water was working there. And then you just have these two huge CGI monstrosities hitting each other, and it's really dark because for some reason the color grading became dark after the big ass evil dragon was released, and you can't really tell exactly what's going on. It's like, okay, this is just stuff happening on screen, and I guess Shang-Chi won at the end. It's yeah, it's become like I guess a trope for Marvel to have films like that. To have their films end like that with like a big CGI battle that you can really tell exactly what's going on.
It's like they're always trying to top the Endgame finale.
Yeah, which is just like, when I think about it, like you have that Avengers 2012 third act. That is a fantastic third act in terms of the way it's shot and everything. Like, I mean, even just the writing wise as well. Like, it most has a bit of plot armor. But it's like you have the oneer where it's like, of course, a lot of it is CGI, but you can tell exactly what's going on, where the characters are, who they're attacking, where they're being attacked from, and it's like, wow, like this is really clear. This is like, I know the people really like to complain about the lighting in Avengers 2012, saying it's flat, but it's like, no, you can clearly tell what's going on. And when you have these films like Endgame where it just looks gray and dark, and it's the same thing now with Shang-Chi and the Black Widow third act, which also is just a lot of stuff happening on screen. You can really tell what's going on. And it's just, I think they're just trying to top the spectacle, but they don't really understand what made Avengers 2012 so visually appealing, like that third act.
It's just mindless nothing, just mindless nonsense.
Yeah, pretty much. Which, by the way, I was watching yesterday, and I noticed for some reason, Xialing's Shang-Chi's sister, her rope daggers, they become magic out of nowhere in the third act, as in they extend beyond anything that possibly makes sense, and they start glowing, and she somehow uses it to trap the big dragon so that the friendly dragon can grab the rope and help Shang-Chi to throw the rings inside his mouth. And it's never explained why it happens. And that's the thing I didn't catch the first time I watched, but the second time I rewound, and it's like, why is this rope glowing? And it's just, they're just doing things in the third act. Like, there's nothing that makes any sense. It's it's not good. I guess getting back chronologically, let's just see here real quick. Oh yeah, so then we have because we have Ying Li fighting Wenwu, and she somehow knows how to control the 10 rings when they're thrown at her. She can just manipulate them through the air, and it's never really explained why or how, even though this is like presumably the first time she's ever seen the 10 rings, because according to what she said about the 10 rings, is that they were found when they fell on Earth. They were found by Wenwu, so she wouldn't know anything about them other than what Wenwu told her after they started going out. So for some reason, she just can't do that, which is the same thing that Shang-Chi does in the third act, which is how he wins the fight against his dad, or at least is able to hold his own against his dad. And it's just really not explained.
So the village, the village is, they just practice, like, I don't know how to explain it, like the power of the dragon, the mystic dragon arts. Is that what the whole like airbending shit was all about?
Yeah, they said that the heart of the dragon kind of gave them these powers, and that they only worked inside Talo.
Oh, okay.
Which is, they don't really explain what the powers are, so we just assume is like airbending, but it has to be a bit more than that, considering how Shang-Chi just survives a lot of stuff he just should not survive. Like when he's hit by his dad, and his dad using the 10 rings to hit him, and he's thrown at the water, and it's like, dude, you should have died from that. Because, he's supposedly just human.
Well, it's got the Black Widow issue again. It's like he's a normal guy, he's a normal person, and yet they have him, they have him falling from insane heights, getting punched by people far stronger than him.
Oh yeah,
I wonder if that's partly why the train fight at the beginning works so well. It's because they're just dudes.
Yeah, it is a lot better because it's just like normal people fighting each other through like martial arts.
It's annoying because it's establishing that even normal fucking everyday people you can come across are able to pose a threat to him, but he takes these insane hits throughout the film from being far stronger than him.
Yeah, after that bus fight, the film just kind of becomes super inconsistent with the like power levels and the durability. It just kind of goes insane after that fight. Shit, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
No worries. But yeah, I think the issue with his durability. Oh yeah, I remember now. There's when they're fighting like on the side of the big ass building in Macau. And he like, there's a moment where someone's gonna hit him with one of those taser batons, which I don't understand why the 10 rings don't use like weapons, like actual weapons instead of tasers, but whatever. And he grabs the baton on the taser, and he just gets electrocuted, but like he can just walk away from that. And then later on in the film, when there's a moment where Shading gets the baton and uses it against one of the 10 ring soldiers, and he just is knocked out for that, like until the end of the fight. And it's super inconsistent how strong, how durable Shang-Chi is.
That is correct. He does explode. He does survive the explosive thingy that Death Dealer uses. I noticed that. I was like, what?
What do you mean?
During the rooftop fight area thing, there's an explosive that goes off right near him and launches him back a bit. And he survives that with no injuries.
Wait, what fight is that?
You know the one where he goes to try and save his sister and gets ambushed?
Yeah.
Do you remember the
Oh yeah,
explosive
yeah,
that
yeah.
went on?
He is. Oh, I thought I don't remember him being thrown back. I don't remember the explosion. I thought he just wasn't near it.
Oh, he was right near it.
Well, okay. I guess it's just not shot well because I couldn't understand really where the characters were in there, but alright.
Yeah,
That scene is super dumb with how the Death Dealer just grabs the pendant off Xia Jing's neck, but whatever. Yeah, but going back chronologically, what the opening flashback was just Ying Li telling the story about, you know, Wenwu, Chu Shang-Chi. She was telling the story about how, you know, she met his father, whatever, which is I think is pretty neat. The dialogue she has, just telling the story of how he changed and how she gave up her powers and, you know, her home, but what she got was very precious, which is, you know, a new family, which I think is, you know, I enjoyed that small moment of, hey, I'm getting to know this character of Ying Li, which I'd say is she's probably the best developed character of the entire film. So,
Which is like, you know, not a lot of development there.
Well, people are calling this film the best one since Black Panther, which I mean is not saying a great deal.
yeah, Black Panther is it's terrible as well. And then I have an issue.
Not a great deal considering the competition.
Yeah. Well, since 2018, actually, yeah.
Well, the exception maybe being Infinity War.
Yeah, I mean, Infinity War isn't good, but I could definitely see it being the best since Black Panther, to be honest. Wow, it's been a while since we've had good MCU films. I'm quite impressed now.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
Guardians.
Guardians
2.
2 was the last one, yeah, which was 2017. So I guess 4 years now. Jesus.
I miss better times.
Hey, we'll get Guardians 3 soon enough. I think it's
If that
2023, right?
If that ends up bad, the MCU's done forever.
Yeah. It's gonna be rough because James Gunn's gonna have to account for Endgame not doing anything character-wise for Quill and Drax. So we'll see. Though I trust James Gunn to do it well, so who knows. But I had one thing that I talked to Jeb about, and I'm not entirely certain whether it's an issue or not. I wanted to discuss it, which I think I asked whether or not Shang-Chi never going back to save his sister is out of character for him after he leaves like the 10 rings. What do you guys think? You think it's out of character or not?
I do.
Why, Jeb?
Because it's shown that he really cares for his sister, and his mother would want him to look after his sister. I think she even says that before she dies. And he knows what his father's capable of because of the abuse he suffered. So for him to make no attempt, even as older, to see how his sister is or to even try and help her is very, very bizarre. He just leaves her to the fate of his father, who he sees as a dangerous man who will happily hurt anyone to get what he wants.
Yeah. I definitely think it's out of character for him to just leave his sister. And the fact is, the film never acknowledges what he did as him like regretting it. At most, we get one line where he says, "I'm not leaving you again," which is a moment where he has the choice of letting go of his sister's hand, and if he does, that means she dies. And it's like, so either I'm gonna let you die or I'm gonna try to save your life. So yeah, no shit, you're not gonna leave me at this point. It's like, it's just like, yeah, that's the bare minimum. And I don't think they ever acknowledged that what Shang-Chi did was wrong. And even though I get it, you know, he was trying to hide from his dad, that he didn't want to get caught or whatever. he left his sister in the hands of an abusive father who he knew would not treat her well because he already wasn't treating her well before he left.
Hmm.
And then he just leaves. And then when we see Xialing when she's already old, she says that she was in prison. She was imprisoned in the Ten Rings like a bunch of times, which then means that his dad did abuse her. So it's like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have been such a cunt, and maybe you should have gonna come back to save your sister. I don't know. It's I think it's really out of character for him to just abandon her. Like, which I think that's like the biggest issue I have with Shang-Chi's character. At least at this point, like the rest of the film, he has pretty much no character. But he seems to be trying to to fight, to trying to do good, but he doesn't really do it well. It is really fucking impressive how the film is just like, I'm trying to be a good person. Of course, he's hiding still because he doesn't want his dad to find him, but he is trying to be a good person. He's trying to help people. Like in the bus fight, he fights those guys and he tries to get everyone to safety before destroying the bus. And winning against the blade arm guy. But when it comes to his sister, he just neglects her, which is really not great.
What I find
Sorry, go on.
weird, what I find weird as well is about his character. He wants to hide from his past and kind of redeem himself from it. You'd expect him to try and aim for a job that's revolved around helping people and improving people's lives. Maybe even try to help people from their own domestic abuse. But he's what's the job title?
Valet.
Yeah,
Valet driver.
which is like, that doesn't really align with your driving motivation as a character. And if you're like doing what would be a drive motivation, you get a lot more out of the character through that and how he interacts with people.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it, how you could just fix a lot of his arc in this film if you had him like work for Shield. Like once he arrives on the US, he starts being like an assassin for Shield because of how well trained he is. And because his dad trained him to be a killer, you'd have the inner conflict about him being raised as a killer but him not wanting to be one. So he focuses his like wanting to be a killer on a good cause. And then when he fights his dad in the third act, you have him saying like, because you have this line of dialogue when he meets his dad in the third act, and he's like, yo, you raised me to be a killer, is this what you wanted? Which that line makes no sense within this film because he's never a killer during the film. That's like the first moment where he's shown to like want to kill someone, and it's his own dad who is trying to like destroy the world. So I don't think it's like that bad of a thing. So if you had his backstory where he like joined Shield and he was working for them, and he was trying to bring down his dad's operation, but because his dad is so sneaky and whatever, he just hid from Shield. That could have worked a lot better for his character in terms of having an internal struggle.
Yeah, but can't have good writing.
Yeah, they just have him be a valet driver because they wanted to establish that Katie knows how to drive cars pretty well and pretty fast.
Fucking hate Katie.
What? She's amazing, Jeb. Why don't you like her? She's hilarious. She sings Hotel California like 3
played by
times
the
during
actress
the
that
film.
made us. That was my granddad's favourite song. Good to hear it, but shit like that, it crippled me inside.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But the fact, yes, Katie, my favourite character, played by the actress that made a song called My Vag.
Ah, yes. The best song ever, yes.
Just why?
And then, because I'm getting to the point in my notes where I talk about Shang-Chi hiding his identity, because I think it's neat that he says that when he arrived 10 years earlier, his English wasn't very good, and that's why he befriended Katie, which which is like doesn't make sense considering his English would have already been great because he was being taught by his dad, and when he was like 9, he already spoke pretty clear English. And I was like, oh, so I guess he's lying to these people because he wants to keep his cover that he isn't like his English isn't amazing, and he is just I guess this normal guy who came from China and he's just trying to lay low. But then his friend says that he can speak 4 languages, so clearly he isn't hiding very well the fact that he's like a trained, extremely well trained assassin, especially when his name in America is Sean, which I don't know about you, but change your name from Shang to Sean, it's not the best choice. And the film makes fun of that, which is just lampshading, to be honest. Or Katie makes fun of the way he just chooses that name when they're in the airplane. And I think it's really retarded. And I guess the defense that Shang-Chi uses to defend that decision of changing his name to Sean is that he was 15. But I'm sorry, 15-year-olds aren't that retarded. Don't you agree, Brit?
No. Most of us are.
Really?
Especially for Chinese. Ayo!
Oh no, the first racist joke. But yeah, I think Shang-Chi's really retarded at covering his tracks. Like, if he, especially like I said, if you rewrote it that he was working for Shield, that would have already made it a lot better because Shield would have a way to hide his identity way better and would have taken him in. And maybe you could have seen explore a bit of his character and how he would react when Hydra comes out of Shield, when he would have been working for Shield for like a year and he was still a teenager during it. Like I said, there's a lot you could do if the writing was good in this film, but it just isn't. And then I guess this is the first note I have about pacing, but I thought the pacing was awful. I don't know what you guys think, but I thought the film was like, it felt like it was 3 hours long, even though it was like less than 2 hours.
Yeah, well, it was 2 hours 10 minutes actually.
I mean, yeah, I just wasn't counting.
But it did feel longer.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I felt like there were a lot of moments that felt. I guess this goes back to the fight scenes where everything felt so repetitive in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do I explain this? Like, the fighting happens and then they take a moment to breathe, either to figure out what to do next or what's coming, and then the fighting resumes, but it's essentially a lot of the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same, I guess, style of fighting every time, and it gets pretty old.
Yeah, that happens on the bus fight and in the third act from what I remember, the final dumbass gray fight.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think the film, there's a lot you could do to fix the pacing if you just like remove a few scenes and change them around. Like the first note I have is where the scene where we see Shang-Chi going to meet Katie at her like mother's place, and we see Katie's grandmother, whatever. And it's like that entire scene is completely useless because it's not adding any new information. We already know that Katie's mom doesn't like the fact that Katie is not doing anything with her life, because the previous scene, the scene just before this one, had Shang-Chi and Katie talking to their friend, and the friend says, "Oh, you should, fulfill your potential. Maybe it's time you grow up." And she says, "Oh, you sound like my mom." So that already establishes that. So we have an entire scene which is almost 2 minutes, that scene, where nothing of worth happens. So you could have just had Shang-Chi arriving at Katie's place and then picking her up at the door, and then they get to the bus. And then that's it. There's like, you're not wasting time. And I think there's a lot of that in the film where it's doing stuff that isn't necessary because it's already been established. And honestly, I think it's the kind of thing that would have been cut had the director had less control over the film, which I honestly think they should have I honestly think like a bit of studio meddling could have been better at this point. Like it feels the kind of thing where the director wanted to establish this thing about this family because culture and Chinese culture instead of actually just focusing on what's relevant to the plot.
Yeah, and I noticed as well, due to the constant random back and forth between the past and present, the pacing becomes a lot worse because it's more disjointed and they keep going either super quick or they're really, really slow.
Well, I think the film it doesn't start until the last like 30 minutes because it's super slow
Yeah,
until then, and then it's like the last 30 minutes it's just everything happens. And it's like it's
like if
not
we
like
were
in a way where you're building up for the two acts and then the third act is like the climax of the main conflict just at its peak. It's just nothing is working, like nothing is happening. It's just really calm, and then boom, everything happens, and it comes really out of nowhere.
like if I were to summarize this really briefly as a story, you've got Shang-Chi and his sister get wanted by the Mandarin. They go to his place, discover a clue to Tao Lo. They try to defend Tao Lo from Mandarin. There's giant two dragons. This entire universe destroying monster tries to kill everyone. The everything to do with the defending onwards, that's in the last like half hour. Then being retrieved and then going to Tao Lo is like most of the film for no reason.
Yeah, like the thing is, which makes it even worse, is that Wenwu's plan of capturing his children is stupid. If he had done it in a way that made sense, we could have cut like the first 40 minutes of the film. Like it could have been 10 minutes of the film instead of 40. It's pretty insane how nonsensical it is and how contrived it is what he's trying to do. Which hurts the pacing a lot. Let's see, going here are my notes. Oh yeah, then they're in the bus and we have the fight scene. The first part I think it's pretty well choreographed, except for
Best fight scene.
yeah, it's until the blade arm man shows up. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the blade arm man just kind of breaks a lot because for some reason he just didn't try to fight him when the fight started, even though he's obviously their greatest asset. And because his attacks make no sense. And one thing I realized when taking notes is because I thought the blade was like above his forearm, which he wouldn't have been able to like just move his elbows, right, to try to hurt Shang-Chi. But then I realized from the screenshot I took while watching the film that actually no, it is connected to his forearm. And because of that, he can move his elbow, which means that most of what he does during this fight makes no sense because he could have just used this blade. Like for example, that moment I share, he could just move his elbow, like angle it downwards, and then boom, he cuts Shang-Chi's arm. And like there's a lot of moments like that where he's just, for some reason, he just does not move his elbow, and I think I hate it so much. Jesus, I have a lot of notes about this fight. Yeah, the second part of the fight is really bad. But the first part of the bus fight is pretty alright. Let me see. Oh yeah, and there was like it's really contrived how they stop the bus from. I don't understand really how it works. If you want to talk about it, Jeff.
I was going to say, before we jump to that, I do want to point out the obnoxious fucking joke about, oh look, I'm a martial arts person, I'm going to rape this. And it just kept killing the tone.
Yeah, he said it was going to break down the fight or whatever the fuck, because he took martial arts when he was like when he was young or whatever. It's like there's this guy in the bus who just starts streaming the fight on like Instagram Live. And it's just, he kills the tone completely because out of nowhere in the fights you just hear him interject with some stupid shit, and it's really
why?
fucking annoying. It's the Marvel mandated jokes, right? It just very
Yes.
clearly just Marvel is like, okay, so
And then
this
they-
is just serious. We need a joke.
And then they doubled down on that because they like cut back to him like a couple minutes later.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
like, why?
Yeah, there was the moment where it's like, oh, I'm not driving the bus. Every time I try to drive the bus, people get angry at me. I'm like, what? Who? I forgot you existed. Why are you speaking?
And they try and do the MCU fan service bait by having it be the same guy in Homecoming that says do a backflip.
Yeah, I did not
that was
remember he
him?
was in Homecoming.
Yeah,
Oh shit.
I'll get an image of him up in Homecoming.
Yeah, until you
Homecoming.
said it was, I had no idea it was in Homecoming, which I guess, I mean, if they want to do fan service, I don't think getting a random guy from Homecoming is the best idea, but, Marvel will be doing Marvel.
Yeah, also they were in San Francisco and Homecoming was in New York.
Hey, he can move.
He's a long distance.
He just happened to be in San Francisco when this is taking place.
Yeah, he just happened to meet another superhero. It's fine. And it's not like it's plot
Yeah.
relevant that he's streaming, right? Like, it's definitely not how fucking Xialing finds out about Shang-Chi.
Mm.
Here, let me get the image. Fuck.
Yeah, you're totally right. He just has to move his arm. I'm looking at the image you sent, by the way, of the dude with the fucking blade for an arm. He just has to like extend his elbow.
Yep. If he moves his elbow and then boom, he's just fucked. Yeah, that kind of just breaks the entire choreography. Not that it was good before, but it gets worse. All right, and then let's see after this. Oh, what were you say, Jeff?
I was gonna say, would we count this as a contrivance that this guy who's from a previous film happens to be in this exact spot for this film?
I don't
It's certainly
think
a contrivance, but not a plot contrivance.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a coincidence. The
bearing.
contrivance is the fact that some guy happened to be in the bus and he happened to start streaming. And if he hadn't streamed, then Xialing wouldn't have known about Shang-Chi. And if she hadn't known about Shang-Chi, Shang-Chi wouldn't have gotten into that fight in the arena and the Golden Dagger. So
Yeah.
it's definitely contrived.
Why is he not acting like a normal person and like freaking out that a intense fight is breaking out on the bus?
Because he did martial arts.
Yeah, he did martial arts. He wants to break down the martial arts. He wants to see if this guy.
Right,
is
he was
capable.
trained to remain calm when a guy with a fucking
It's the
steaming
Johnny
tentacle
English
blade
Jew
is
type of
swinging it
training.
around.
I want to raise another issue as well. In the film, for the backstory, they establish that the Ten Rings are secretive, and yet they do this really public attack on the bus.
Yep.
And
really
you're going
dumb.
to see why. You're going to see why it gets even worse with the postcard, because it
Yeah.
establishes a certain fact.
Let me see if I can find exactly what I said about the. Oh yeah, there's also the fact that the bus driver just happens to hit his head on the steering wheel and pass out because he happened to look away exactly when a car was crossing the road in front of them. It's like, okay,
I
thanks.
want to point out as well. I don't know why films keep doing it. Buses aren't easy to drive. You need a specific license.
Yeah,
to learn how
buses
to
and
drive a
trucks and
bus.
whatever, they're like a lot harder to drive.
I mean, but that's a conduct for a bus service that drives buses. It's like it's a lot harder than you're making it seem. Film. It's not just steering a wheel.
Oh yeah, what I say here is one of Wenwu's goons hits Katie and hurts her for no reason when they're in the bus. When he throws Katie at the window, and it's like, why would you do that? And I say either Wenwu wants to stay in the shadows, or he's okay with causing trouble and calling attention to his men. You can't have both. And it's like, but they try to have both because he is both causing these extremely public attacks, especially in Macau. That one was insane. Yet he also wants to stay in the shadows, and I guess Shield or Sword or whatever it is at this point never found out about his stuff, or neither did the sorcerers. Like the Ancient One never found out that fucking Wenwu exists and he has this entire army, which is exactly the kind of thing that Ancient One would want to stop because the Ten Rings are a weapon from a different dimension. So that's exactly the type of thing that the Sorcerer Supreme is supposed to defend the world against. But I guess she just never did. Oh yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point that Dominic raised about General Ross. He should have been definitely all over this, considering the Accord is still a thing. Well, it's the kind of thing where I see after the bus crashes and the bus stops, Shang-Chi just walks away and goes to his place to pack because he wants to go to Macau. But the police never stop him to interrogate him, and they just let him get into a plane to go to Macau. And nobody ever is like, "Yo, you're the dude from the fight," because they would know because of the live stream, where like thousands of people were watching. I think they said like 2 million views is how many views the video got, which is, a lot of people would have seen that. But I guess the police just not do anything. Oh yeah, and while the truck had the brakes cut, the police just never shows up. They only show up after the bus stops. Somehow, even though it's fucking San Francisco. I guess there's just no police there, but okay. And yeah, I was saying the way they stopped the bus is really dumb as well.
Oh no, I just had another question.
Oh shit, what?
Why is the bus driver still fucking driving before the brakes are cut after a fight's broken out?
Actually, yeah. Why would he?
That's... Oh,
Yeah,
fucking hell.
like there's a scene in Nobody where there's a fight scene inside the bus. Pretty sure they fight when the bus is stopped, and then
The bus is stopped, yeah, because the dudes crash into something like a concrete barrier next to them, and then just get on the bus. And the bus driver, being a sensible person, steps out of the bus.
Yeah.
And
Bob
takes
Odenkirk
the
tells her
keys.
to leave, but the point is, she says that she's not driving, and then people tell her to drive, and Bob Odenkirk is like, "No, you get out." So that scene makes sense. Shang-Chi just does it.
That's what they were trying to emulate, but
well, I'm not sure because Nobody is like released recently. I think Shang-Chi would have already been made by that point, in theory. But yeah, Nobody does the bus fight scene way better. He was listening to music. He didn't realize for some reason. Yeah, I think that's the excuse they're going for, which is dumb.
The bus scene dragged on for so long, and I was like, wait, where's the police? Not only that, but the bus driver isn't like freaking out that there's a fight on his bus. He's not pulling over and shit. And I kept asking myself this, and then yeah, they were like, there's a way we gotta explain this. Headphones. He's listening to music, and he doesn't hear all this damage from a guy cutting the bus in half and cutting metal pipes and shit. He just doesn't hear any of it.
Yeah,
because music.
And I'm saying this as a deaf person who can't hearing is my specialty. I'm noticing that shit.
Yeah, and you'd think police would have been called from inside the bus, consider how many people were there. Like, there's the lady that was working on her laptop, which Shang-Chi grabs and destroys for some reason because he's retarded. Like, there's genuinely no reason for him to grab the laptop at that moment other than a joke. But, like, for example, why did she not call the police? Hell, there's a fucking live stream of this happening. How did the police not get notified and show up, like, right away? It's so dumb.
Why isn't the guy calling the police instead of live streaming it?
Oh, see.
You gotta rate it, man. He got 2 million views.
Yeah, he got 2 million views. I'd say that's fair enough,
It's probably like
and why,
you can monetize it.
Yeah.
Why aren't the super secretive 10 rings seeing him yell this and recording it, not going for him as well?
Yeah, why did they not just stop the stream right away? Why? Well, why are they doing this in a public bus in the first place? It's so dumb.
They know where he lives.
Yeah. When Wu says, "I always know where my children are," so in theory you could have just done it anywhere.
And he said the postcard, so it's like, wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he said the postcard. The postcard, the amazing postcard. I forgot that was a thing. It's so dumb. Yeah. So they stop the bus and then they get out, and then Shang-Chi goes to his place and he's like, "Yo, I gotta pack because my dad is after me," and we gotta go because they're gonna go after my sister now because Blade Arm Man says, "Oh, you and your sister are gonna get what's coming to you," which makes me think, okay, if it just makes it even worse for me that he just abandoned his sister. But even then, I think it's hilarious how he thinks like that means that his sister is in Macau, and that's definitely his sister's postcard that's telling him to go there. When, if as far as he knows, she's still in the Ten Rings and she did something there, and she's gonna be punished for it. Like, just because Blade Arm Man says, "Oh, you and your sister are gonna get what's coming to you," doesn't mean his sister also left the Ten Rings. Like, he's just assuming that based on nothing. So that's just retarded. And then, yeah, do you want to talk about the postcard? I guess.
Yeah. So, Shang-Chi, when he wakes up, we see this postcard with a dragon thing on it. And we see why that was there. He believes his sister has sent that postcard to come see him about this whole pendant situation. He decides to neglect it for months, despite caring for his sister and feeling guilty, apparently, but I digress. And there's also the fact he never suspects it could be a ploy by his father, because this would be something the Mandarin would do, and he would know that. And the fact that the sister's never tried getting in contact with him since, even though if she wanted to, she would. And he just believes this willingly, and gets himself into a trap that gets him captured.
Yeah, right after he's attacked by goons sent by his father, what he thinks is, this postcard that isn't signed by my sister was definitely sent by her. Let me go to where this postcard tells me to go. Definitely not a trap.
And this proves as well that Mandarin knew where, we'll get a second confirmation, but where Shang-Chi lived, and just didn't bother attacking his home, but rather on a very public bus despite being a secret organization.
No, and why even attack? Just show up yourself there, Wenwu, because he doesn't want his children to die. It's so dumb. He's wasting his own men and getting them killed in the bus scene and in the Golden Dagger scene, when he could have just gone to his son's house, apartment, whatever, and be like, yo, you gotta come with me. And if he doesn't want to come, just have some of your goons there, and then you bring him by force. And then you don't waste resources and soldiers because you're a moron, and you don't threaten to kill your son that you don't want dead.
Yeah, wasn't his reasoning like?
Well, his reasoning.
Sorry,
his reasoning was his reasoning was I told my men that they wouldn't have been able to kill you even if they tried. I'm glad I was proven.
Yeah,
right.
I was gonna bring that up. Like, that's such a dumbass reason.
Yeah.
Why risk it like that? And you know his address.
By the way, there's a moment where Shang-Chi would have died if not for plot armor. So there's this moment where Katie is falling from the broken bamboo, and Shang-Chi grabs her, and he doesn't really have a way to defend himself. And the way Katie falls from his grasp is because one of Wenwu's men hits him with the taser baton. And if it was like a blade or anything, Shang-Chi would have died. So he only didn't die because the plot wanted him to. Like, his dad wasn't proven right. He would have been proven wrong if his men weren't fucking stupid. So I think that's hilarious.
I don't understand. And he just reveals himself more in the open by doing this. And it's like, why? And then you want your children to be on your side, but you allow your men to try and kill them.
Yeah, the best way to convince your children is to try to murder them. Definitely the best choice.
And the thing is, he must have ordered the Blade guy to take the pendant, but just forget about Shang-Chi.
Oh yeah, that's another shit. Okay, let's just jump ahead to that scene, I guess. When they want to get Xiaoling's pendant, they don't go after Xiaoling. They go after Shang-Chi and Katie. Like, they just for some reason ignore Xiaoling because the plot, I guess, needs more drama. Because Xiaoling, she just runs away and leaves Shang-Chi and Katie all by themselves, and they already have Shang-Chi's pendant, and they need Xiaoling's pendant at this point. They just, every single one of them.
Oh my god, you're right.
Yeah, every single one of them attacks.
I just realized that.
And then when Xialing shows up, that's when they start attacking her. So, you know.
And she somehow saves Katie, who definitely should have died at that moment. She's just at the correct position,
Yeah, she just happened to show up.
aligned so that she can grab her.
Yeah. Which, even then, the fall would have killed her anyway. I don't... And not to mention that the bamboo just... It does not make sense how the physics of the bamboo works, the one Katie was hanging from. She would have been dead the moment it started breaking. But, you know, the plot needs to happen. Okay, so before that, let's see. Oh, yeah, we have, for some reason... So, can anyone tell me why Shang-Chi allows Katie to come with them to Macau?
Friend. I don't know.
I'll do you one better. Why the fuck does Wenwu bring her along back home when he's only there for his children?
Yeah, he's retarded. The thing is, he's showing this random person he doesn't know where his lair is, his hidden lair, and he's just showing her because I guess she happened to be with Shang-Chi. It's so dumb. And they also in that fight scene...
It's so he can have the...
Sorry,
go on.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say it's so he can have the villain monologue, isn't it?
Oh yeah. We need her to be like, well, first because she doesn't speak Chinese, so we can have characters who would usually speak Chinese, they would speak English near her, and secondly because she's, you know, an audience surrogate, so all the exposition we need is delivered to her, and also, you know, she's comic relief character, I guess. Well, she's supposed to be. She's not funny, but you know. But one thing that I find hilarious is how when they're not only, like I mentioned, how they all go after Shang-Chi and Katie in the fight at the Golden Daggers, but why the fuck did they go after Katie? Like, if they want to kill Shang-Chi, why are they going after Katie? Just have more men on Shang-Chi. Katie is useless to them. Like, she's just a random woman as far as they know. They don't really know why, like, what her relationship with Shang-Chi is. So, like, why are they trying to murder her? And if they hadn't been trying to murder her, like, she would have just made it to the elevator and gotten out. So they want her to be involved in the plot so bad, but there's no reason for her to be there at any point, other than, I guess, the bus scene.
Nope.
I know, because she made a song called My Vag and they need to get revenge.
They're trying to kill Aquafina because she made such a terrible song. You know,
I don't understand. Like, okay, you could maybe give the defense for her coming along if you were to play devil's advocate. It's that Shang-Chi feels bad, but then I'm like, well, then you're deliberately endangering your best friend.
Yeah,
to someone
she's
you
like
know
his best friend that he's known for 10 years, and it's like the first person he met when he arrived at the US. You'd think he'd be more precious of her and not let her get endangered. But I guess let's just bring her to Macau to meet, I guess to go try to find his sister when there are assassins after him. Like, it's so dumb. And somehow the police just doesn't question Katie as well. And it's all like, you can't argue that Katie is just like, oh, see, I'm going with you, and that's that. And she's just like, there's no way of not going with her. Like, she walks out of Shang-Chi's place to go, I guess, pack her bags or some shit. Like, Shang-Chi could have just gone straight to the airport and just left her. Like, what's she gonna do? She doesn't know exactly when he's going, where in Macau he's going. So it's so dumb.
And honestly, if he went straight away, it would have given him more time to persuade his sister.
Yep.
And they might not have gotten ambushed.
Yeah, he would have arrived earlier. So the thing with his dad's assassins, I guess, just wouldn't have gotten there at that point. Or maybe they were waiting, but for some reason they also waited for the fight between Xialing and Shang-Chi to happen to attack for some reason.
Mandarin betted and he needed that money.
Yes. Well, to be fair, Katie made quite a bit of money betting against Shang-Chi, so, you know. Which, by the way, really retarded, but I guess we'll get to that. Well, I guess we're already there, right? So, oh no, actually we have the airplane scene first. I forgot that was a thing, because I hate how that scene's just undercut by a joke. So basically, Shang-Chi is he's recapping his backstory to Katie when they're on the airplane. And then he says that his dad, that Wenwu, after Ying Li died, he, started using the 10 rings again, the 10 rings as in the weapons, and he just kind of lost himself after Ying Li died, which honestly makes sense. That's, good. That's like actual character writing, so that's good. And then he started training his son, Shang-Chi, to become an assassin. And somehow, at the same time, Xialing, who, because she's a woman, she was never taught anything in terms of fighting, because I guess for some reason, Wenwu just doesn't want women to fight for him. I think that's strange, but whatever. She taught herself how to use like the ropes with the daggers, which I don't understand how that works. How she just managed to teach herself to the point where she's better than anyone else. Like she says, she learned how to see. She saw the men training with the daggers, and she taught herself how to be better. And I don't understand how that works. Because she was just watching them.
She just looked.
Yeah, she just looked.
Yep, she just watched.
By the way, when she started training, she was 8. I think 8 years old, because it's when Shang-Chi's already older. So let's say if Shang-Chi was
I thought Shang-Chi started training when he was 7.
It was when he was 9. But the thing is, she started
was it?
training when he was already older. When Shang-Chi was already like 13, 12 or 13.
Really? I thought okay.
Yeah, I checked
No, I
it.
thought
She started training
I
after.
thought one of them started training when they were 7. Or am I just making that up? Am I
Maybe
just
she
getting
could have been
confused?
7. I'm trying to think timeline wise. She was 10 when he left, so she's 4 years younger. So she would have been 8 or 9 when she started training.
Yeah.
Timeline wise, yeah. Considering when they show she starts training is when Shang-Chi was training with the daggers, and he was already older. By that point, he was not like the 10-year-old actor version of himself. So she trained, I guess, for 2 years until Shang-Chi left, and then she kept training for 6 years, and then she left to start her own underground fighting club somehow at the age of 16, which, by the way, happened 1 year after the snap. That's when she started her club, which makes me think, how the fuck did she manage to, at the age of 16, escape her father and start an underground fighting ring without with like when half the people on Earth had been snapped? Like how in the fuck could she have possibly done that? And the film just says, "Oh, I just wanted to build my own empire because my dad never allowed me."
Yeah, Daddy
to."
let me into his, so I made my own.
Yeah.
And the thing
Girl
is,
boss moment.
Well,
the thing is-
Aquafina, Kate even says like damn straight or some shit. It's like, that's not what you should say. She started like this underground fighting ring where people killed themselves for money, but I guess you're fine with that, Katie. I don't know. You're not a good
Where
person.
fucking Abomination is part of it.
Yeah, Abomination and
And the
Wong.
thing-
Oh, he was like entertainment. Isn't it like a I haven't seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. yet, but isn't it like a reference to him in
Yeah,
Agents
his
of
reference
S.H.I.E.L.D.?
should be in the raft, I'm pretty sure.
well,
Yeah.
in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he's actually referenced to be in the fridge, but
Oh,
we
yeah, the
know
fridge.
he's in the raft. And we do see, at the end of the scene, Wong opens the ring, and we see it look to be in a prison of some sort.
Yeah, which
But-
just, it makes me think,
What?
oh, why would they just
Why?
let him leave? Like, you'd think there'd be a camera pointed at that, cell of
Why?
or
Why is
Abomination.
Wong training Abomination?
Yeah,
Because
what
they
the
make
in
money
prison?
fighting
I-
together.
I don't know.
Well,
But
the reason is they make money fighting together, but the thing is, it's super out of character for Wong to just be advertising his powers like that. Like they're
fuck
supposed to
Wong.
be they're supposed to be using these powers to protect Earth, and he's just doing it to make money for himself. It's like, okay,
He was the only guy I was rooting for after the No Way Home trailer. And now it turns
Yeah, I was
out
gonna
he's
Yeah.
doing sketchy shit too.
Yeah, I was going
Yeah, I
to say,
thought
but this fights against his character in the No Way Home trailer when he's saying to Doctor Strange, "Hey, don't do this spell. It's really dangerous." So, like, the dude's a straight talker. He's sensible. He's straight as an arrow. He doesn't find. enjoyment or pleasure in doing things that are not by the book.
Yeah, they're
Or at least
characterizing him in
that's
this
what I
film
thought it
as
was.
they're characterizing him in this film as being like a super cheeky person, but like in Doctor Strange, he is super like serious, and the one moment he laughs is like a big payoff because he finally laughed at something, even though Doctor Strange has been trying to break him for the entire film, and it's like that's a payoff we have for his character where he finally laughs at something. But in this film, I guess he's just this laid back person who jokes about shit or whatever. It's just I really hate Wong in this. Super out of character.
I also want to criticize the logistics of the Empire thing, because when the snap happened, that means global economic depression. She couldn't have any money to even sustain anything, and it'd be very hard to get any money because of the economic depression and the chaos.
Dude, it was a
So,
year
It would have been
after
nice
the
if
snap.
like the,
Like,
it
dude.
would have been nice if the movies went into like the world after the snap, but whatever.
Well, but all of
That's
them
what
lived
Falcon Winter
during
Soldier
the
was meant to
snap.
be, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, all of them lived after the snap. Wenwu, Shang-Chi, and Xialing, and Katie as well, I guess. Because otherwise the timeline just doesn't make sense the way they explain it in the film. So if all of them lived during that, it would have been really cool if they actually had explored it, other than the one line from their friend being like, yo, people can just, half of everyone can just disappear out of nowhere. It's like, okay, that can happen. Now tell me what are the consequences of that happening? What happened in the world? But I guess world building in the MCU is just not allowed to happen. Just real quick, because Carl is saying like practice makes perfect, and that's how Xialing would have been able to teach herself. That's not the issue I have. The issue I have is with how incredible she is at it, and also the fact that she would have had to hide it from her dad because her dad would not have allowed her to continue practicing with the dagger ropes. Especially with how young she was, and she would have definitely hurt herself a lot to the point of potentially killing herself by training with those, especially when she's so young that she's like 8 or 9. That's my point, is that she is incredibly young for such a thing, and she wasn't only teaching herself about the dagger, she was teaching herself about basically everything, to the point where she's better than Shang-Chi at fighting somehow, even though she taught herself when Shang-Chi was trained by like elite assassins by his dad, and she beats him when they're fighting in the golden daggers, which just makes no sense.
yeah, like Shang-Chi's trained to take over the 10 rings. That's the level he's being pushed at.
I'm pretty sure that Wenwu says that he was training him to show that he was strong enough to take the 10 rings. Prove that he was strong enough to take up the 10 rings after his father. So
yeah, that was
sad. Before we continue, I'm gonna have to head out. So, bye.
All right. Thanks for coming, Brit. Goodbye.
Alrighty.
Goodbye, Brit.
Yeah, bye.
See you, man.
Bye, voice.
Sorry, hi. Sorry, I lost the button on my keyboard because I'm stupid. Hi, it was lovely to speak to you. Please take care.
Yeah, I love you too. Okay, bye.
See ya, Brit. Brit's channel is in the description. He makes videos about like Harry Potter and stuff. He's pretty cringe, but you can subscribe to him or something. All right. Shit, where were we in terms of the film? Oh, yeah, we just arrived at Golden Daggers. So for some reason, Shang-Chi just signs the document when he's coming in. He doesn't read it through, even though he has no idea what he's walking into.
He doesn't know what he's looking at.
Yeah, he just signs it, and it's like, oh, it's an entry form. I guess you're gonna fight now. And it's like, okay. And he doesn't even question it. He doesn't say, no, show me the form again. He just, okay, I guess I'm gonna fight. And he just does. I thought that was hilarious. And let's just see what. Oh shit! Fuck! I forgot we were back at the airplane scene. I always forget that scene exists. So, continuing the flashback. We see that a dagger, like a normal dagger, when he's fighting like the what's it called, the death dealer or whatever. That Wenwu soldier, I think it's called the death dealer. That. Yeah, I think it's death dealer. He manages to cut Shang-Chi's face with a normal dagger. So I'm like, okay, so he has normal human durability apparently, but the rest of the film just takes him as being super strong. But then we have this
Think about it.
fantastic joke in the film where a flight attendant interrupts Shang-Chi to ask if Katie and Shang-Chi want vegetarian or beef. And it's hilarious. And it goes for 30 seconds where it's just talking about what they want to eat. And it's amazing. Definitely doesn't kill the tone with where Shang-Chi was just about to tell Katie about being sent to assassinate his mother's killer. But, whatever.
Marvel movie joke man day.
Yeah, that was
Gotta
really
get those jokes in there, or it's not a Marvel film.
Yeah, it was
It's like
shitty, really shitty.
I think this has been the trend past, I guess, Infinity War, where these really, really out of place jokes destroying scenes completely.
Yeah, I'd say that Endgame had tons of those. I think they're trying to emulate the success of the Guardians films because those films are way more comedic than the other MCU films. Like other than I guess Whedon's films, but the thing is Whedon knows how to do comedy, like well with character writing, as does James Gunn. So when you have something like the other films trying to emulate that, especially with the Russo brothers, they do not know how to do it really well. I think it really falls flat.
I mean, yeah, you even see it in Suicide Squad, where tonally it's really consistent.
Yeah, and the jokes never
But yeah,
undermine any
hilarious.
characters, and actually, it accentuates a lot of characters. Like when you have Peacemaker saying that he would do anything to keep the peace, and he says that he would eat an entire beach made of dicks to like keep the peace. It's like, yeah, that line is funny, but it also makes sense with this character considering how extreme he is with wanting to protect the peace, and I think that's a pretty great like line. It's like you cannot find it not funny, but it still characterizes him,
So
And it's
many
a setup.
jokes from that film. There are some bad ones, but there are so many jokes in that film that are just, mwah, love it.
Yeah, that film was hilarious, honestly. Yeah, so it's just I think they're trying to create that same feeling that like won audiences over, but they just couldn't do it properly. And like since like you said, Infinity War, even though Infinity War, I also think it's not perfect in that regard, but it's better than most. Yeah, and what Sam Collins said in chat is really weird because the Russo brothers, they were directors for the first 2 or 3 seasons of Community and executive producers as well. So you'd think they'd be better with comedy, but I guess not.
Well, there's some really good. There are some really good jokes in Infinity War. One of my favorites is when Tony asks the Guardians what exactly it is that they do, and Mantis not understanding human custom says a metaphor incorrectly. Says that we
kick names and take
take
ass.
ass and kick names and take ass. And Drax, obviously, who doesn't know what metaphors are because his species are completely literal, just looks at him like, yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's a good joke.
yeah. I think the Guardians are definitely the best part of of Infinity War. I think they have some pretty good jokes and characterized pretty well. Yeah, and then we
the
have
good
the
days of beyond us.
Yeah, even when the films weren't good, they had like really good moments. And then we have Katie making fun of Shang-Chi changing his name to Sean, which is like, yeah, that's retarded, Shang-Chi. You should have picked a better name. Like, if you're going to hiding, like, just don't pick the name that's pretty much one-to-one with yours, you moron. Yeah, and then he goes into the Golden Daggers Club. He signs the contract, even though he doesn't read it because he's moronic. And then we see, which I think is really funny, we see like powered people fighting in the we see like powered people fighting and extremely skilled assassins fighting in golden daggers, but when Wen's Wenwu's men show up later on in the scene, they just don't fight back against those men, even though they clearly would be able to fight against them. I just think that's really odd. It's also extremely convenient that the Wenwu's men, they just show up after Wong and Abomination had gone away. Like if they had stayed there for longer, they're fucked. Like Wong is gonna fuck them up. So again, just really contrived for not really any reason. They just needed the cameo from Wong, I guess. The joke about Wong fighting Abomination and making money out of it.
It really annoys me as well because this is the first time we've seen Abomination since the Incredible Hulk, and they just made him pathetic.
Yeah,
Why,
they
was
just
he?
made
Why
him
was he going
himself.
along with it?
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Because it's not like he's making money. I don't understand it. Like, there's no reason for Abomination to be there other than joke, I guess.
But why is he there? What does he get out of it? What's his driving goal?
At
Is he just doing it
most,
for
he's
the
been
laughs?
training with Wong. Wong's trying to train him to be better at fighting because he lost to Hulk. Because, yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. Which would explain
Which-
why Wong would be holding back until he finally is like, you wanna know how that feels, and then he just uses the portal to make him hit himself. So I guess that's why.
But then it's like, why are you training Abomination to beat the Hulk? The Hulk's not a threat. The
And
Hulk's your
Abomination
friend,
tried to
Wong.
destroy Harlem, so
Like, Bruce is your friend, Wong. You brought him in with you in the mid-credit scene.
yeah, there's just I don't understand why any of it is happening.
And
And-
remember,
Mm.
CBR said he's the Coulson of
Oh
this universe
yeah,
right
they
now.
said Wong is the Coulson of the MCU at this point, which really annoys me because of how much we like Coulson, me and Jeb, because of Agents of Shield. So
He's a
I've not seen
he's-
it, but
yeah,
he's
Agents
an
of Shield is
incredible
said-
character.
yeah,
Who said that? Wong is the
CB
Coulson of the universe.
CBR.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that a name I'm supposed to be
It's-
familiar with?
it's basically a comic book news website.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the world's top destination for comic and TV and movie news, whatever the fuck. Oh yeah, and then they tell Shang-Chi that he's gonna be in a fight, and he's like, okay, I guess he's gonna be in a fight. Like he's like, no, I'm not fighting, and then Katie's like, no, you'll be fine, and then the guy who tells him he's gonna be in a fight says, no, you'll be fine. But like, first off, Katie, you don't know he's gonna be fine. You just saw like a sorcerer fighting a big green monster, so you don't know exactly who he's gonna fight. And then Shang-Chi just doesn't ask who he's gonna fight. He just accepts it for no reason at all. He's just like, yeah, you know what? That's fine. Let's fight this person. I don't even know who it is. And if he had asked, I don't know how they would have hidden that it's his sister, to be honest. Like, the guy says, yeah, I don't know who your sister is when he asks, do you know where Qu Xialing is? And he's like, no, I never heard that name before. So it's just, I don't know how he would have hidden it, but whatever. And then when they're fighting, Shang-Chi is retarded because he like doesn't explain the situation fully to his sister until like he's already been beaten mostly. Like he should have got into the ring when he sees it's the sister. He's like, Dad is coming to try to kill us. We don't have time to fight right now. And then that's it. Instead he's like, no, wait, we don't have time. Stop fighting. Let me explain. And he wastes like a good 2 minutes just being beaten by his sister because he just didn't bother to explain like a normal person.
God bless him.
And
What a hero.
he was also hitting the balls, which, yeah. I don't know how he didn't deflect it. Well, the choreography is really shit because it's just really selective as to when Shang-Chi and Xialing have like super reflexes or when they don't. So it's really dumb. Oh yeah, and then we see a flashback just before Xialing is about to attack Shang-Chi, like give the final blow, the final kick to his face. We see the flashback, and the last thing that she said to Shang-Chi was, "Don't leave me here," which just makes it even worse that he abandoned her when he left to the US. So, you know. Oh yeah, and then Shang-Chi, he talks to his sister, explains what's happening, And then he says, I don't know what he wants, but we both know we can't be good. Talking about Wenwu, their father. Which just makes me think, why did Shang-Chi never tell any authorities about his father and the Ten Rings? Like, why did he knew where it was? So why did he not tell like Shield or the FBI or the CIA? Like, there's this terrorist organization called the Ten Rings. They're here, investigate. Like, I don't know, give an anonymous tip if you want, or just help them in their investigation. He does nothing because, like I said, I don't think he's a good person in this film. He just lets his father keep doing what he does. Like, he still could have kept his fake identity even if he had ratted on his father. So it's just, it just really hurts his character that he just never does that.
The issue coming from the fact that every time they do this with an organization or a faction or a group of people that have existed simultaneously, what am I trying to think of as the word? Simultaneously alongside what we've known to be canon in Marvel, these people that have been around this entire time. It's the same with the Eternals. It's like, well, where the fuck were they up until now? All these opportunities to yeah, all these opportunities to seize power, and they've been where exactly?
Yeah.
It's like with the Eternals with the Endgame thing. It's like they've always been here, but they've been told not to interfere in the problems of humans. But I'm pretty sure the erasure of half of all life in the universe goes beyond just petty human issues. That is definitely something they should have been stepping in and dealing with, and they just didn't for reasons. It's the same with the Ten Rings. It's like they could have had so many chances to like just spring up and be like, hello, we're doing this thing now, when we know there are less people in the world to stop us than there would be otherwise, especially with the whole Sokovia Accords and everything. And I don't even think the film addresses whether they know about that or not, despite the fact we know that's something that's happening at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot you could do with this film, world building wise, and they just kind of butcher everything, and they just create this new faction that just never happened to meet either the Red Room or Hydra, even though they've all been secret organizations that never met each other throughout the years. It's dumb. I mean, obviously the Red Room knew about Hydra. They like stole shit from them, but like in terms of, because they are all characterized as manipulating politics and destroying governments at their will because it is beneficial to them. Yet they never manage to like butt heads at one of these, or But I guess the film just wants us to believe that all these factions just existed and it's fine. But it's like, obviously it's not. Oh yeah, and then Xialing abandons Shang-Chi when the assassins arrive for absolutely no reason, because she just comes back later when she saved Katie. So her reasoning is, now you know what it feels like to be abandoned, because her brother abandoned her when he left her with Wenwu. But it's like, if that's your reasoning, that's really retarded. You abandoned him for 5 minutes and let him almost die instead of helping him when you have to stick together at this point. Or if you just don't really care about your brother, why don't you just leave? You still have the pendant. They're going to have to come after you anyway. And if you do actually care about your brother, also just leave, because then they're not going to attack your brother because they want your pendant. They don't want him. So either way, her abandoning him and then coming back just makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, what if he dies? How are you gonna tell him, oh, well, now you know how it feels? He's not gonna fucking know that if he's dead.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess he is gonna feel betrayed that she didn't help him the same way she was betrayed, I guess. I don't know. It's dumb. Yeah, and then there's this fight that I guess I'm just not gonna go through like choreography wise, but it's really shit. And we already talked about how like the assassins trying to kill them makes no sense. And then we have a moment that I really don't understand. So Shang-Chi grabs one of the spies that was sent to kill him, and he's like the only thing keeping him from dying. He's holding him by his clothes, and he asks, "Why did he send you?" which is, you know, fair question. Either you answer me why my father sent you, or you die. It's like, yeah, that's how interrogations work. And then his sister kills that guy and is like, oh, did America make you soft? But it's like, the point isn't that he was made soft, is that he wants information. How else are they going to get information if they just killed everyone they meet? Like, it's obvious that he just wants to know about well, what their father wants. And it's all like Shang-Chi is against killing people because he kills like a bunch of people when he's fighting during the film. So that's not really the issue he has. So I just find it really fucking strange, that moment. And it becomes even stranger when Shang-Chi runs after the death dealer, or whatever the fuck his name is. And after he beats him in that fight, he has the dagger pointed to his face. And he does not kill him instantly, which you think, well, if you're not going to kill him instantly, you're going to question him, right? But he doesn't. He just hesitates because he needs a moment where he's going to have a flashback to the death dealer, like, hurting him when he was a child during his training, which he knows isn't even the death dealer's fault because he was working for his father, and it's not like he could have just not done it, considering his father would have killed him if he didn't do it. So it's like that scene is just like trying to have some emotional impact of, whoa, Shang-Chi has been abused as a kid, and it's, you know, it's just something that haunts him. But the film just did not establish that, nor does it make sense how it explores that. So, you know, it's really fucking dumb. And then we have Wenwu arriving, where he tells Shang-Chi, I told my mem they wouldn't be able to kill you if they tried. Guess glad I was right. Which just means, why did you try to kill them? Especially when you want them to help you to find your wife. Which also, by the way, why does he think his wife is alive when he saw her dead body?
Because of a voice.
Ah, yes.
I just
Definitely not
A voice.
Definitely not him going crazy. Hearing a voice is
A very convincing voice.
Yeah. And you know what's made even worse about that is the fact that you'd think that Ying Li would tell Wenwu about it. Be like, yo, because she tells a bunch of stories about Talo. So you'd think she'd be like, yo, there's this like dark dimension inside Talo where it tries to lure people into opening the gate to let out a big monster that's gonna destroy Earth. So, like, if it tries to lure you, don't fall for it. It tries to give like everything the person wants. So, you know, keep an eye out for that. And then when he starts hearing his wife's voice, he's like, you know, maybe that's not my wife. Just maybe, because I saw her dead body. I saw my son holding her dead body. After she had died fighting the Iron Gang. But, you know, it's fine, I guess. It's not like that it allows the entire plot to happen.
Yeah, no. I just find it hilarious that he kills the people that killed his family. No, his wife. Then sends his son on an assignment to kill the last person. And then thinks his wife's suddenly alive. Despite spending years, by the way, training his son for this moment to kill the guy.
Yeah, like, and also in the third act, he also says that his son he just stood there and saw her die, so he knows that she died. So was she imprisoned or was she not? Is she alive or not? And it's super inconsistent. It's so dumb. But I guess he just is like, no, she's alive 100%.
To tackle what Sam is saying, once Iron Man 3 happened, the world obviously forgot about the terrorist group. I'm like, well, the issue is they didn't. Because of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, that's the thing. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does much better world building than the MCU ever did. It accounts for a lot of the stuff that the films just kind of glaze past. Like, even Civil War, which I thought the film explored better, but since, you know, us rewatching it is kind of like, I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does Civil War much better. At least the Sokovia Accords, not, you know, Civil War as a story. Yeah, which is what Sam Collins is saying is dumb, that no one's looking for Trevor Slattery after he escaped from jail, no government shield. It's like, yeah, that's retarded as fuck. And it's the kind of thing where it's I guess it's established in this film that that's the case. When it's like, wow, congrats, you just kind of broke the world building even more, or just to having Shield be even more incompetent somehow.
Yay.
Yeah. And then the next thing I say is when we'll take Katie to his home, which we already discussed. And I also said I'm not sure exactly how that works, but you'd think, especially with Edith, the way satellites work, you'd think it'd be pretty easy to spot the Wenwu's base, right? Because it's not like it's hidden. You can see it. It's like in the middle of like some mountains. But considering Edith and how powerful technology is in the MCU, you'd think satellites would have picked up on it already and like investigated it somehow.
I wonder if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did this in Season 1 for Sky.
Oh yeah, that's true. They do that. Agents
For
of
the
S.H.I.E.L.D. is really good.
fridge.
Yeah,
Wow.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is
I
really
mean, it doesn't surprise me. They couldn't find the fucking red room.
good. Hey, it was
That's a
flying
floating massive
really high.
structure in the sky
Yeah,
that
but-
moves.
But clouds, Madvocate. You forget that clouds exist.
I forget. Yeah.
You forgot clouds.
Yes. Clouds are the best way to hide your base. It's like, I don't understand. Well, why can't you just have an underground base? Like, let's just do that. It's so much easier to hide it. Oh, there's this one moment of character that I actually like, where Xialing is like, when when Katie asks her like, oh, is he gonna kill me? Which obviously he won't. If he wanted to kill her, she'd already be dead. But whatever, it makes sense for her to be scared. Xialing is like, just nod, don't talk. He'll forget you're here. That's how I survived. Which I think is a pretty neat line. It makes sense with how her character has been established to, like, her relationship with her father. And then she says that her dad couldn't look at her because she reminded him too much of Ying Li, which, you know, makes sense. Like, characterized, I think that all works pretty well, and I think it's one neat moment of, hey, there's actually like characters here. Which I'd say is what, like the first moment of character, like proper character writing in the film. And you know, we're already like in the second act, but whatever. The pacing is really shit, but yeah, this is a neat line.
Have we mentioned the shit?
What'd you say?
Have we mentioned the pacing of shit yet? I think we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, in past, I mentioned that one scene with Katie's grandma, but just as a whole, the pacing is really shit. It's trying to focus so much on plot, and we have nothing about characters, and then it's trying to cram both characters and plot in the third act, and it's like, yo, where was this during the film? It just doesn't really flesh out anything, and then Shang-Chi's arc starts at the end of the second act and it ends at the end of the third act, and there's nothing to motivate him to change. He just goes through an arc because yes, I guess.
When I was watching the credits, I kind of groaned when I saw third floor visualization come up, because they do the previs for like all the Marvel movies, and it just reminded me how they go to them first to map out the fight scenes before the script is even started, pretty much.
Wait, really?
And it just reminded me, like, yeah, you guys haven't heard of that?
No, I didn't know that.
I've heard of something like that.
That they do yeah, they do a lot of most of the visualization before the script is even done. They map out fight scenes before their story.
Wow. And
Yeah,
you know
so
something
that's
else?
very telling.
You know something else that did that? It was Transformers 2, Revenge of the Fallen. That film was made during the writer's strike, and a lot of people say, well, they shot the fight scenes before they wrote the film, and that's why it's bad. But I guess the MCU also does that, which is really fucking cringe. It's like, fight scenes are also a way to characterize your characters, and you're just gonna do them before you even have characters. That explains a lot of why these characters are fucking morons, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is a piece of information that explains quite a bit. Yeah, and then we have Xialing saying, I couldn't train with the boys, but I watched everything they did and taught myself to do it better, which we've already gone over how that just shouldn't work the way it does, especially with how great she is at pretty much everything. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's just really dumb how she just teaches herself to be better than everyone.
Gave me WandaVision deja vu when she just look when Agatha just tells her, "Oh, these are runes," and then she just takes a quick look at them, and then she just knows how to make them at the
Yeah.
very end
Exactly.
and
Oh,
overpower
sorry.
And it
Agatha.
wasn't even the same
It's not even
runes,
the
which is
Yeah.
funnier.
Yeah.
I
I
literally,
got a comment on my video. Someone was like, "It's similar to the Green Lantern's ring, where you just have to envision it and it just works."
Okay.
That's how her powers work.
Of course.
I had
And it's like, I would
Paul,
love to see where in the script that was mentioned.
Yeah.
I had Porgy defending the rune stuff to me, and it's like I know the same runes, so I paused the scene every second, taking screenshots.
Yeah, we
Go
showed
and
all the
know.
screenshots in the during that ECUM showing how different they are, and it's pretty funny.
Mhm.
But yeah, Borg, you can be disingenuous all you want, but you can shut the fuck up.
Iconic moment.
Yeah. All right, and then we see. Oh yeah, then Wenwu says that he knew where Shang-Chi and Xialing were. He said that he always knew where his children were, which is fine, I guess, considering how retarded his children were at hiding their identities. Like Xialing used her actual name, so not hard to find her there, and she's even in fucking China, so not very hard to find her. And Shang-Chi changed his name to Sean, so definitely not the best to hide it. So I think it's fine that Wenwu knew where they were. And then he said that he
Considering how
gave them.
stupid they've been, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't think it's an issue on Wenwu's part of like him knowing information he shouldn't. I think it's them just being dumb. But then Wenwu says that they let him that he let them live like 10 years of their lives. To well, basically 10 years of their lives, and he's like, "Where did that get you?" Asks that to Shang-Chi, and he's just a valet driver, and basically saying that he didn't fulfill his full potential, which is kind of a theme the film's trying to go for, to fulfill your potential, be as great as you could possibly be, and strive to be the best, which they kind of have that arc for Katie, even though it doesn't really make sense because she just learns how to she just learns archery in a day, and that happens to help them destroy the dragon that was gonna destroy the world. So that's very convenient, and obviously it doesn't make sense that she would know archery like after a day of training, but whatever. And then they say that the Traverse Mandarin in Iron Man 3 was based off Wenwu, which shows that the Ten Rings is well known enough, like outside of the Ten Rings, that like they've heard about them, but Shield never bothered to check in on what the Ten Rings are or where the legend comes from. Then they never happen to fucking stop Wenwu somehow. I really don't understand how they're trying to like make the Iron Man 3 stuff tie in with this film, because I think it kind of just breaks Iron Man 3 and this film quite a bit. It just does not make sense to work one with the other. And here in my notes I'm bringing up the issue of the romance between Ying Li and Wenwu, which is why in the fuck would Ying Li ever believe that Wenwu was actually just trying to date her instead of trying to manipulate her into like stopping to protect her home, or just allowing him to walk into her home, which becomes a big issue when she just leaves her home to be with Wenwu and just leaves her powers behind. And she was supposed to guard the entry to Talo, which means the only guard that was there, she just leaves, leaving the entry unguarded. Or maybe they put another guard, but because it's not Ying Li, they probably Wenwu probably wouldn't have been able to beat them in a fight. So I guess she just believes Wenwu that he's changed. It's like, okay. Ying Li,
Yay.
like I said, I think she's the best character, but she's dumb. She's really dumb. Like she's not like supposed to be like naive, like for example Ratcatcher in the Suicide Squad, where she's talking about King Shark, and she's like, if I die because I gambled on love, then it's worth it. Like, that shows how innocent and naive she is. But here, Ying Li is supposed to be like pretty wise and, you know, not fall for this kind of thing, but she just does. And I guess she happened to be right, but because I guess Wenwu decided to be character assassinated, so that's fun. Yeah. So, oh yeah. So then we have the scene where Wenwu, he uses the pendants to do like some magic water crap to show the pathway to Talo, which I don't know if you noticed this, Madvocate or Voice. I already talked to Jeb about this, but did you guys notice that the timeline after this event does not make sense?
In what way?
The amount of days that pass doesn't make sense.
Oh, are you talking about how Shang-Chi and his gang go through the forest, and even though they said it only opens up once a year, and then Wenwu comes in like a couple days later. I forgot how long.
It's well, let me try to explain. So Wenwu says that to get to Talo, you need to go through this passage that opens at an exact moment, and he has to go through this exact route. And then he, after using the pendants, he knows exactly when it's going to happen and what route he has to take, which is like, you know, fair enough. And then he says, we leave in 3 days, which implies that the passage is going to open in 3 days, right? Yeah. So then we see, and that was at night, and then they imprison Shang-Chi, Katie, and Xialing. And when they do that, they escape with Trevor, and it's still at night when they escape after they're imprisoned. And then when they arrive at the forest, it's day, implying it's the next morning, especially considering the dialogue they have is like, yeah, we pretty much just escaped. And they go through the forest, and they get inside, and which I guess is like a secret passage that Morris knew for some reason, which we'll get into with how contrived that is. And then after they get inside Talo, they spend a day there, and which is especially confirmed because Katie says at the last scene of the film that she had learned how to she had learned archery like a day before she hit the dragon, which means obviously they just spent 1 day there. And then we cut to what's his face, Wenwu, and he says we leave at dawn, which means that it was 2 days after he first looked at the passage instead of 3 days. And because the passage is implied to only open at this specific point, 3 days after that, him going 2 days before means that the passage wouldn't have opened, and that means he wouldn't have been able to make it to Talo, nor would his army have been able to make it to Talo. So they just kind of fuck up, and they just said 3 days, and he actually just takes 2. So timeline-wise, that part does not make sense. Which I think is hilarious, because it's like they say it only opens at this specific moment, and then he just goes before, and it just happens to be fine. So yeah, it just does not make sense.
Does it only? I might be misremembering details. Does it only open up once a year? Because how does Wenwu and his
he doesn't say
come
once
in?
a year. He said it opens at a specific moment and a specific. You have to take a specific route. He doesn't say exactly like it's once a year. I think it probably is less than once a year. Probably is more than once a year because of how many times they would have needed to like get in and out of Talo. I think it would have just been a poor system if it opens more less than just once a year. But who knows? They don't like, as far as I remember, they don't really specify that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if it was once a year, it would be even funnier because he just managed to misread the thing, but also pick the day that happened to be correct. So, you know, well fucking done.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then after after Shang-Chi, Xialing, and Katie are imprisoned, they just happen to be near Trevor's cell. Trevor is in the fake Mandarin for Iron Man 3, and they happen to hear him like growling because he's practicing for his performance, because he's pretty much a jester for Wenwu. And Trevor just happened to have a pet that for
Plot
some
device that tells them how to go through the maze.
yeah, pretty much. He says that Wenwu brought he brought like that Morris, that the one pet, back from one of his visits to Talo. And it's like, why would he do that? Why would he keep it? How has it stayed alive since then? We don't know what that thing eats. It's like a magical creature taken off its land. And because it doesn't have like a face or a mouth, how does it like consume food? You'd think that it only exists in Talo because Talo is like magical and they use like the dragon's heart to keep them alive. But yeah, it continues to stay alive. Trevor happened to learn how to speak the language of Morris some fucking how. I don't know how. He just stayed imprisoned with Morris for years, and he's like, yeah, I know how to speak his language.
Because he's an actor and he understands giant shit.
Yes.
That's how it works.
That makes perfect sense. And then Morris happened to know a way for them to get to Talo without having to wait for the passage to open. Which, wow, how fucking lucky. And then Xialing somehow
guarded.
What?
Wasn't it even guarded?
Nope.
But why?
Trevor just had like his cell where he prepares to like be an actor, and he had Morris, and like the door was open for some reason, even though Wenwu will obviously know about that little monster from Talo. Which, by the way, why wouldn't Wenwu ask Trevor about Morris? Be like, yo, this monster, like, I know you're friendly with it. Do you think it could take us to Talo? Like, there's no reason for Trevor not to want to help Wenwu at this point, because Trevor's pretty much gone insane, and he just happens to help Shang-Chi because he happens to bump into him.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, Wenwu was a moron. He could have gotten to Talo like ages ago, and he didn't need the fucking pendants. So that just kind of renders the rest of the film pointless. I just thought of that. That's not good. But yeah, then Xialing somehow she breaks a brick wall with her kick. Okay, somehow. That opens a passage for the tunnels, which they use those tunnels because she says she knows the passages in the tunnels because that's how she escaped the last time she was imprisoned, which makes me think, how in the fuck would she have escaped there, especially like where, and if she did escape, why aren't there like cameras inside the prison and whatever the fuck to try to keep these prisoners there? But I guess they just don't notice.
Yeah, reinforce it so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, but they don't notice anything until the heroes get to the garage and they steal a car, which I guess it's supposed to be funny that it's the Blade Arm Man's car and it says Razor Fist, which I don't know, whatever. But yeah, like, and the keys just happen to be at the entrance of the garage, and they just happen to be like, yeah, we can do this. And then they steal the car. Obviously, Katie's driving because she's like a good driver, as established earlier in the film. And they manage to escape somehow, with also the worst security system for opening and closing the fucking gates, because it's like any random goon, all you need is their fingerprint. And if you use that, it opens up extremely fucking fast and closes so fast that it can destroy a fucking car, like cut it in half. It's like, there's a reason why garage doors usually take a while to open. You don't want them to smash your car. You don't want them to, ruin your car. But whatever. I guess that's just how it is. And it's convenient for them, because if it wasn't like that, they wouldn't have been able to escape. And for some reason, Wenwu doesn't use the 10 rings to stop them. He just stays there looking at the cameras and is like, I guess they escaped. So, yeah, extremely fucking dumb escape scene.
I just remembered an issue ages ago that we didn't bring up.
What issue?
The whole Shang-Chi never telling S.H.I.E.L.D. or the government about his father.
Oh, I mentioned that.
Oh,
It's
did
probably,
you?
Yeah,
I
it's
was
probably
going
when
to
you were
say.
away, yeah. But I did mention that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is
I was
what
gonna
I think
say.
like ruins a lot of what people say in terms of Shang-Chi being like heroic, which he is better than Natasha and Black Widow, but he's not a good person, I will say that. Uh let's see here. Oh yeah, and also like I find it hilarious when they're chasing the car they're trying to escape with, that the goons um that Wenwu's goons, they just don't have weapons or long range weapons to use, even though later in the film we see they have crossbows with like electric ropes that are fired from it. So it's like, hey, maybe you could
Mhm.
use one of those, maybe. Okay. And they don't even try to hit like the wheels in the car with those batons, even though how Shang-Chi takes out one of the motorcycles that's driving beside them is to grab one of the batons and throw it at its wheels. So you think those goons will, learn from that, but whatever.
No.
That would
That
make too much sense.
It's this film is really dumb. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then we have that really unfunny joke about Planet of the Apes with Trevor Slattery. Um, which it was kind of funny at first, but then they kind of ruined it before running it into the ground. Which is basically he became an actor because he thought the monkeys in Planet of the Apes were like actual monkeys acting. Uh, so yeah, he just didn't know how it worked. As in the Planet of the Apes in 1968, and that's why he became an actor. And that joke just wastes a lot of time, which again kind of kills the pacing. Um, and then we have another joke of him being like, Morris is a complex creature, and it takes time, and he's from another universe, or whatever. And then he's interrupted because Morris is like, okay, it's time for us to go, because they're waiting for a signal to get inside the forest.
I I hated the Planet of the Apes joke because they do the joke once, and then they're like, in case you're severely retarded, we're gonna break down the joke for you.
Yeah, they just explicitly explain what the joke is. They repeat the same joke twice. It's
Yeah, there's a quite a bit of that. This kind of plays off of what I mentioned earlier about there being the film feeling so repetitive even in the action, because like the joke on the plane where the flight attendant was asking them what they wanted to eat, and I was like waiting for it to be over, and then she's like, oh no, we actually don't have beef, so what do you guys want to order? We have one option left. And then it's like,
yeah, she's like, okay, so we don't have it's like we don't have chicken, so we only have beef for vegetarian. Then it's like, I want vegetarian, and he wants vegetarian. She comes back and it's like, no, we don't have vegetarian actually, so what do you want? She's like, well, you only have beef, right?
Yeah.
So beef. And she's like, yeah, you're gonna have beef, and what about you? It's like, yeah, I get the joke. It's like, whatever, just move on. And it's like in the
yeah, like
middle
some
of
people will find it funny, but don't double down on it. Stop dragging it.
Yeah, and it's rough because it's like in the middle of that heavy exposition scene where we're learning about Shang-Chi's backstory, and it's just about when we're about to get any semblance of character, and Shang-Chi's interrupted, and it's like, okay, so I guess we're gonna have to wait until the reveal later on in the film to actually get some character. Oh god, Trevor is a character who stays in the story. He doesn't just make a cameo. Yeah, he's the plot device that gets him to Talo, and then when he's in Talo, they make a joke about him being a Liverpool fan and a football fan, and then he's just there. He doesn't do anything else. Oh, he does have the funniest joke in the film, where it's when they're fighting in the third act, they're fighting like these monsters that suck out people's souls. He's on the ground, and it's like
Oh, yeah.
he's supposed to be apparently he's dead, and Morris just walks up to him. Morris is the mythical creature monster pet, and it like tries
And Morris
to
thinks he's dead.
yeah, and he's like tries to he just pokes Trevor, and Trevor's like, shh, I'm not dead, I'm just playing dead, now come here and do the same. And Morris just falls on his back. I thought the joke was pretty funny. Like, it actually works. Like, you wouldn't think Trevor would actually engage in a fight. I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely in character.
Yes, there's just not a lot. It's like the best we can hope. It's one joke that's in character in the film, but it happens. And then just when the forest opens, for some reason, Katie doesn't. First off, she doesn't go at full speed, even though we know she's a reckless driver, and she would definitely go at full speed. And secondly, Morris should have told Katie that she should have gone at full speed from the get-go, because the forest was going to close around them, and if he had closed around them, they would have been swallowed by the forest, which after they drive through the forest, the forest actually does close around them, but the car isn't like swallowed or destroyed like it is in the like opening flashback with Wenwu's car, where it's like thrown off a cliff. The car is just fine, and it breaks through the last layer of bamboo. So it's a pretty worthless fucking forest to guard your entry to a mythical fucking different dimension, but whatever. Let me see. Oh yeah, and then when they arrive at Talo, we have Shang-Chi being a moron and not exactly explaining why he's doing what he's doing, why he's there. He's just like, yo, I'm Shang-Chi, and this is my sister. And then he just says nothing until Katie walks out of the car and says, and this is Katie. Instead of saying, hi, I'm Shang-Chi, Ying Li is my mother. My father, when we was coming to destroy your village, we came to warn you and help you. He just does not say that. The only reason why they're not like, they aren't fought against nor are they kicked out of the village is because Shang-Chi's aunt happens to show up and she's like, yo, lower your weapons, people, and let's talk to them. And it's Shang-Chi's just really fucking dumb in this film. Hold on. Oh yeah, and then we have the aunt explaining how the dark dimension fucking dragon works, saying that it promises it promises people like their greatest desires, and that's why people are lured to Talo to open the gate. Which is why it's like, why didn't Ying Li ever tell Wu Wen about this? Especially when it's like the history of how this town was created, this village was created. It was created to protect the gate. So you'd think it'd be like one of the stories that she tells the most to her children and to Wenwu. And you know, if she had told it, the plot couldn't have happened. Especially considering, you know, Wenwu has the fucking 10 rings, which is like one of the things that's actually able to break open the gate. So you think she'd be extra careful with when we would be like, yo, do not do this, do not go to Talo with a voice like tells you to. But you know, Ying Li's fucking retarded. And then you know, we have Katie training archery because she just happens to pick up some arrows that fell to the ground, and she's like, yo, I'm gonna help these people, I guess. And then this old lady is like, yo, you gotta I forget the exact quote. It's pretty much like, if you don't know where you're aiming, you're never gonna hit it, which I guess is something to do with like her not having any direction in her life and her learning to have it. But it's kind of weird because that's said in Chinese, and Katie doesn't understand Chinese, apparently. Like, she doesn't understand it really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we know like she understood.
Yeah, it was
like
supposed to be like a deep moment, and it's like you do realize that this character probably doesn't understand what she just said.
Yeah, and it's weird because if the old lady from Talo understands what she's saying, that means that she understands English. Then why she's not just speaking English with Katie? I was like, why would you have it be Chinese? It's dumb. I guess because the
racism.
I guess because the quote sounds Chinese, in Chinese sounds better. Speaking of racism, one thing I found hilarious. Did you guys ever notice any fight scenes where you can clearly see the stunt double's face?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yeah, if
I
you
don't think I paid attention to that.
Yeah, if you rewatch and pay attention to Shang-Chi's face, you can tell a bunch of times that it's a stunt double. And I think it's hilarious because I think the only reason they kept that is because they're Asian. Because it's like, they don't really look that much like one another. Like, their faces are like really differently structured. But you can clearly tell it's a stunt double. I think it was especially clear in the when he's fighting the death dealer and when in the bus scene. And I think this is really fucking hilarious.
It's very weird because like the MCU are always known for like over CG, so you'd think they'd just CG over, like do a head replacement.
I mean, yeah, but It's just
Mhm.
maybe just don't show the faces all that much. Like the point of stunt doubles is to not show their faces, but have the kind of similar build. I just thought it was hilarious because they clearly weren't shying away from showing his face, and you could
Yeah.
tell it wasn't him.
All of that money went into the spectacular VFX and green screen compositing, as you can tell.
Oh, of
Yes.
course, the film looks phenomenal. And then we have a dialogue scene between Shang-Chi and his aunt, where she tells him to stop hiding because it only prolongs the pain. Which is kind of like he's trying to repress the side of him that comes from his dad, which is like the bad side of him, which is what they're kind of trying to imply. But they never ever showed that in the film up until this point. It's the first point where they hint at it. And I think it was really just coming out of nowhere, trying to create an internal struggle for Shang-Chi so he could actually have like a character arc. And this is like 1 hour and 20 minutes around that into the film. So we have like 40 minutes left, and this is the first moment we get an insight into Shang-Chi's internal struggle, which just wow. Like, not only is it terrible pacing, it's just terrible writing in general. Like, you want this character to have an arc, and he's the main character of the film, but his arc is introduced 40 minutes away from the ending. And it just does not make sense because it just comes out of nowhere. Oh yeah, and then we see the flashback where the Iron Gang shows up at the Ten Rings, and they end up killing Ying Li. And Jeb, I know you love this scene, so what would you like to talk about the Iron Gang killing Shang-Chi's mother?
Oh, yay. So we have this random gang managed to find out where they live. The place has 0 defenses, despite him still having the 10 rings. And she goes to take them on her own, and they somehow never attack the children, despite that causing more pain to Mandarin. Like, out of everything, it's a random gang. It's not like some insane government after them, or I don't know, just something more powerful than just a literal random gang. He's angered.
Imagine if they actually had tried to tie it in with the Red Room to try to make it make more sense, and you say that Wenwu, he actually worked with Dreykov for a while, but then they kind of just had a falling out after Wenwu stopped using the 10 rings, and that's why they're attacking. And then it's like you just send some widows to kill Wenwu, or kill Ying Li. And it's like, hey, this actually kind of addressing world building wise, and also like having it make more sense, because having it make sense considering how skilled the widows are, so they could like realistically kill Ying Li, especially since she doesn't have her powers. So it's just, if you could try to tie it in with the Red Room, you could do Shield or Hydra or whatever as well, which would have made obviously more sense. But it's just this random Iron Gang, which is like, yo, when will
What faceless goons to beat up?
Yeah, pretty much. She's like, yo, when will he failed us, and now we're gonna kill you. And then they kill her, and that's it. And they just, like you said, they just happened to get through all of the security, the 10 rings, to kill Ying Li some fucking how. I have no clue how they just did that. Like, so dumb.
And they spared the children despite wanting to hurt Mandarin.
Yeah, if they actually wanted to hurt Wenwu, killing the children as well as the wife would have been better. Hell, even leave the wife alive and kill the children, because that would have also hurt. That would leave the mother thinking, "Wow, it's your fault that these people, that our children died because you weren't able to protect them, or because of your past life." So, killing just the mother actually does not make sense. Yeah. So that scene is just really shitty. And it also just, it makes me think, where was Wenwu during that scene? Like,
Getting the groceries.
yeah. He was just out, and then he shows up exactly as his wife had already died. It's fantastic. Like if he was there, he just grabbed the 10 rings and killed them, and it's like, yeah, you're not doing this anymore. But he just happened to be out. How convenient for Ying Li to die there, but whatever.
And why does it take so many years?
Yeah, I don't know, because he met Ying Li in 96. They've been together, I guess 2008 is when she dies. So 12 years is what it takes for them to attack Wenwu for some reason. For some reason. Yeah, I don't understand what the Iron Gang was there. It's just really just trying to have I don't know. I don't even know what they're trying to go for there. It's just really strange. And then oh yeah, and then we have Shang-Chi talking to Katie, and he's like, "Yo, my mom would hate the person I've become, because he ended up killing her mom's killer, which I think is really kind of strange, because he's clearly okay with killing people. He doesn't think it's a bad thing, but killing his mom's killer is the thing that makes him feel guilty. I thought that like at most you could say that he just feels guilty he couldn't save her, because we even know that his father blames him for it. It's like, you just stood there as she was dying, you just watched through a window. But I don't really think that works, because he says that it was his father's fault later on in the film. So I just have no idea why he thinks that his mom would hate the person he became, other than him being a moron and not turning his father into the authorities. But I don't think he was thinking about that. I think that's just me headcanoning it.
Yeah, he has 3 different states. Like, he's happy to kill. He's ashamed of himself for killing his mother's killer, but also doesn't think that was his mother's killer.
Yep, and he also wants to kill his dad, kind of out of nowhere. He's just like, yo, my dad, he's destroying my mom's legacy. I'm gonna have to kill him. Which kind of really comes out of nowhere. Like, that's never established to be something that he hates his father for. Which again is the kind of thing where if you hinted at it earlier in the film, it could have been a lot better, but they just never do anything with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, establishing this internal conflict like 30 minutes before the film ends. And then Wenwu shows up to Ta Lo with his army, which, like I said, doesn't make sense timeline-wise. And then now Wenwu's army has crossbows, which it didn't before, which is quite fun. And it's also funny that those crossbows, they use some kind of like electricity powering whatever, which when they hit the people from Ta Lo, they get hurt, which implies that they aren't super durable. But again, Shang-Chi survives like a lot of bullshit in this film, so not sure. One thing I liked, which is not really supposed to be a compliment for the film, but I guess it is, because most of the time they're just doing they're just not explaining the entire situation. Shang-Chi's aunt, when Wenwu arrives, she just goes straight to the point. She's like, yo, there's this fucking big ass dragon trying to trick you from outside of the gate. He like, Ying Li's actually dead. Yeah. He's just trying to trick you. Do not open the gate. And she actually tries to talk. Which I think is pretty nice, honestly. But then fucking Wenwu, because he's a moron, he just doesn't stop for a second to consider that may be true. That he's there may be actually this monster trying to trick him, especially when he's seen his wife's dead body, and now that his children are siding with Ta Lo, like, he knows how much his children loved Ying Li, their mother, but he just like, they don't want their mother back, I guess, whatever. Really fucking strange that Wenwu again continues to be retarded.
You ever been in love, Marcus?
I can't say that I have.
He heard a voice. He heard a voice, Marcus. It was his wife. He loved her. Leave him alone. He's allowed to be illogical.
I expect characters should be 100% logical, yes. And then we have then Wenwu is like, he walks away from the Hollow people, and it's like he'll burn down the village, telling that you're his own man, instead of, attacking them himself, considering the Ten Rings would have easily won that fight. But I guess they need that cool shot of him saying, burn it down, with his back turned to them, which, lots of shit like to do that shot. Does not make any sense here, but whatever. And then while they're fighting, Wenwu just walks. Like, he just walks through everyone fighting, and none of them try to stop him. And then, for some reason... Oh yeah, and then Blade Arm Man, he's fighting Shang-Chi, and then Cha-Ling stops him. And when she stops him, she doesn't kill him for some reason, even though she has, like, her dagger rope tied around his neck. So why just not use the dagger to, slice his neck or some shit? He's really dumb. He only survives because they want the payoff later on in the film, where he decides to help them, decides to help fight against the soul-sucking monsters. And he grabs, like, a dragon scale machete for his arm. And then for some reason, Wenwu, instead of going straight for the gate, he stops at the shrine they have for Ying Li that was shown before in the film. But how would he know there was a shrine for Ying Li there? There's absolutely no reason for him to know, nor does it make sense for him to stop there, considering he thinks she's not dead. Like, the only reason he's going there is because they need the set piece for the fight against Shang-Chi. So that's the only reason why that happens. So yeah, Shang-Chi runs after him. They fight. The choreography shit, and Shang-Chi survives shit he shouldn't. And then he's thrown at the water. Oh yeah, before they do that... Oh no, I think I've already talked about this. The line, "You trained your son to be a killer. Is this what you wanted?" Where it's like, you aren't really a killer, Shang-Chi. Like, you've never been characterized as that. So this is not like an internal struggle you're trying to fight against, or your dad symbolizes you being a bad person. It's more like you just made this up like 2 minutes ago. And then this line I think is funny, not because, like, I think if in isolation it makes sense, but considering the entire context of how Ying Li just fell in love with Wenwu for no reason, I just find this really funny, because Shang-Chi says, even if you could bring her back, what makes you think she would want anything to do with you? When she like fell in love with him, after he'd already been like this emperor for 2,000 years who just killed people indiscriminately simply because he wanted more power. So I don't understand why trying to save her from these people who imprisoned her would mean that she wouldn't want to be with him. Like, it just does not make sense. And then Shang-Chi's thrown in the water. And then the dad just goes to the gate. He still doesn't hesitate at all. And then there's not a single guard at the gate. There aren't any people trying to guard the gate, which is fucking absurd, considering they had at least a day to prepare for what's his name, for Wenwu to get there, Wenwu and his army, and they just have nobody guarding the gate. So he just gets there by himself. And then
all these problems, we haven't even reached the final fight yet.
Yeah, we're almost there. And then Wenwu starts to hit the gate, which starts to release some small monsters that suck people's souls. Which at this point, if you're Wenwu, you're thinking, hold up, maybe they're telling the truth, because these monsters aren't my wife. Maybe I should stop hitting this gate, and maybe I should, talk to them to learn what's going on, instead of, just being a fucking moron. But yeah, he keeps hitting the gate, which releases more and more of these soul-sucking bodies.
He doesn't even see them, does he?
Well, he should.
I think, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, either he just doesn't care what's happening around him, or the movie wants us to think that he just doesn't hear them.
Well, if that's the case, that's also, well, it's dumb either way, because when Shang-Chi arrives to fight him near the gate, those soul-sucking monsters, they just don't attack Shang-Chi. And at that point, there were like a lot of those monsters flying around, and Wenwu could definitely see them, and he just kept hitting anyway. So I just think he doesn't care.
When you see these when you see these fucking soul-sucking monsters, wouldn't you like assume maybe your wife isn't in there still alive
Yeah.
if she was supposedly imprisoned with these creatures?
Yeah. And it's also dumb how he tries to open the gate. It's by hitting it instead of like trying to push the dragon scales. Like I think he tried to do it by like creating an opening, like a passage through it instead of just hitting it, but I guess it's more of a nitpick. I don't know. Oh yeah, and then Shang-Chi, either he just was able to breathe underwater for some reason, or because I guess Talo, being Talo gives him those powers, or because he was thrown close to the good dragon that was underwater. The good dragon just kind of saved him, which is like the dragon only gave him the ability to breathe underwater just before he was about to die, which I think is which obviously super contrived. Either way, this doesn't really make sense. It's like either he has these powers that have never been established, which is a Deus Ex Machina, or the dragon is just like, yo, I saved you just before you drowned. So, I guess. And then these monsters, the soul-sucking monsters, they seem to only die from like stuff that's made from dragon scales, which yeah, but then which means that everyone at Talo would have been fine because they used dragon scale armor. But then it's also killed by one of those big like dog, lion, whatever the fuck they are. Like it kills one of those monsters with its teeth, which makes you think it's everything that's in Talo that can just kill them. If that's the case, isn't it just like hitting a tree branch at them gonna kill them? I don't really understand the rules here.
The giant dog monster was also made out of dragon scales.
Of
His
course.
teeth specifically.
His teeth were covered in dragon scales.
Yeah, they wrapped it up before the battle.
Yeah, and yeah, they can you can't use regular weapons from like the normal world. You need to use weapons, either weapons from Talo or dragon scale things. And yeah, that fight just does not make sense considering if they have dragon scale armor, there's no way for them to lose. And I guess Shang-Chi now, like he fought his aunt because he asks his aunt how Ying Li managed to be the only one to ever beat Wen Wu, and she teaches him. Well, she doesn't teach him. She's basically like, yo, these are wind powers. She uses them to beat Shang-Chi. And she says, yo, you gotta accept your past, be good or bad, which is not a conflict he had. And now, after he is saved by the good dragon, he just knows how to use the wind powers when he's gonna fight his dad, which, good on you, Shang-Chi. Like, it comes out of nowhere. And then we have kind of like the same type of choreography where Shang-Chi fights Wenwu with like the dance fighting thingy he did with his mom earlier on in the film, which has the same issue of, you know, the tentacle blade of him just not using, of Wenwu just not using his left arm that also has 5 rings. And then we have the joke of Trevor pretending to be dead, which is nice. And then there's a moment that I thought was hilarious where Shang-Chi is in the ground and Wenwu is about to strike him with like a whip with the rings, and you're like, okay, so he's dead. And they cut away to Xialing, where she just helps the dragon because they're like monsters and attacking his eye. And she throws her like rope daggers, and her rope is like huge in terms of like 100 feet long. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, I was also scared. I was like, oh god, is she gonna take out the eye herself from this?
Well, apparently she can guide her rope daggers better than like anyone ever. It's pretty insane how the rope dagger works. It seems like it's a fucking guided missile or some shit. It's super precise. But yeah, Shang-Chi was about to be whipped by the rings, and then we cut away, and then we cut back to that fight. Shang-Chi, he's just on his feet fighting back, and it's like, oh, okay, thanks for saving him. The power of editing. And then Wenwu throws like 5 rings at Shang-Chi, and Shang-Chi just knows how to control the rings. Somehow, again, the same way his mom did, just out of nowhere. And it's also hilarious where this isn't really Don't Stop to Talk, but it's a Don't Stop to Watch, because Shang-Chi's like playing with the rings and having them float around in front of him, and Wenwu just doesn't
Oh,
attack
yeah.
him. He just waits. And for some reason, the hand movements that his mom taught him when he was children and he was a child and he still remembers them, are able to control the flying rings, even though she never used the rings herself, other than that one time she fought Wenwu. This film's so dumb.
Right.
Oh yeah, and then Wenwu, who has used the rings for at least 2,000 years, he manages to not beat Shang-Chi when it's his first time using the rings ever. So, yay.
Yeah, I also think that just that first when we was fighting that one empire at the beginning in the flashback, like establishing that he's that powerful right off the bat is kind of like gonna fuck with the rest of the movie because of how easily he took down several people.
Oh yeah, definitely. That does hurt a lot. It's like he can just beat these people easily,
Yeah,
and nothing pretty much
kind of
can
fuck
hurt
over
him.
the stakes by doing that
Yeah.
so early on.
Yeah, you didn't even need to show it like that. Like you could just imply what happened off screen. It would have been better. It's really strange. Oh yeah, and then while Shang-Chi and when we were fighting, somehow Yingli still believes. Somehow Wenwu still believes that Yingli is behind the gate. Like after a bunch of monsters are there and he's fighting his son and he sees a fucking dragon came out of the water and he's like, maybe I'm wrong. But he's like, no, 100% my wife is behind the gate. I also find it really retarded when Shang-Chi throws his rings to the on the ground when he's fighting his dad. Like I think he's only uses 5 of the 10 rings, and he like creates this Kamehameha ball, but then he throws the rings to the ground. It's like, why are you doing this? You were okay with killing your father like 5 minutes ago, and it's all like he went through like a change of character, change of heart. Like there was nothing to inform that he just decided not to kill them for some reason, and he doesn't kill his father. It's like, okay, well done, I guess. This is an arc, I suppose. And then something that I thought it's kind of a nitpick, but I think it's really funny. After the monster is already strong enough from the souls, because the soul eating monsters, they like grab the souls from the people. They grab the souls from its victims, and it brings it to the dragon to like feed it to be strong enough to break out of the gate. When it's strong enough, it's still and it's breaking down the gate. It's still asking Wenwu for help. It's still like using Yingli's voice saying, "Break me free, help me, get me out of here." Even though it's already getting out, so it's useless to do that. To continue asking for help. But yeah, then the dragon is released, and it's a big ass fucking dragon, and everything just becomes gray after this with some terrible fucking color grading because it's clear they shot that during the day and it was not cloudy at all.
Did the evil dragon have a name?
Actually, I think it's the Dark Dweller. I think that's the name. Let me check.
This is the Dark Dweller. He's got
Dark
my back. His mouth traps the souls of its victims.
Yeah, it's definitely the Dark Dweller. Wait, is it Dark Dweller? Let me see. Shang-Chi. Oh, Dweller in Darkness. Oh, that's pretty cringe.
It's pretty close.
That is a pretty
Probably even
cringe
more
name.
edgy. Yeah.
Dweller in Darkness. What? But yeah, it's Dweller in Darkness apparently, and its species is called the Soul Eater. Okay, so yeah,
Beautiful.
Dweller in Darkness is released. I'm pretty sure the good dragon also has a name. I think it's like the Great Protector, because apparently you can't just have names. It has to be titles. Whatever. Hold on. Oh yeah, and I also find it pretty contrived how the dragon only came out now, where if it came out before, Shang-Chi would have been dead, as would Wenwu, but whatever. And yeah, when Wenwu, he's grabbed by the dragon, by one of those like a million tentacles, and he's like he's gonna die. His soul starts being sucked by the dragon, and he just does not use his rings to get himself out of that situation, which is supposed to be like him sacrificing himself to protect Shang-Chi, and then he gives Shang-Chi the rings, but it's like you could have gotten yourself out of this situation pretty easily. It's like just cut one of these tentacles with the rings, because like his arms, they were really free when the dragon grabbed him, but he just did not use them for some fucking reason again. So yeah, he dies. And this dragon, which is, there are legends about him. He was trapped like thousands of years ago, and he comes from another dimension. You'd think this is exactly the kind of thing the ancient one would have known about and try to, protect the world against, or try to kill, because they're supposed to protect the world from threats that come from other dimensions, which is exactly this, but I guess not. And then Xialing for some reason, she just learns how to ride a dragon. She gets on the Great Protector and she's riding it, and that's what saves Shang-Chi, because she hits the Dweller in Darkness with the Great Protector. And then Shang-Chi, he jumps on the dragon, and they just like start flying away, and they just both dragons start fighting, and it's basically impossible to make out what's happening other than like some vague stuff that doesn't really make sense. Like I said, Xialing's rope, she just turns magic out of nowhere, and it just extends itself infinitely, and it just cannot be broken, even though it's just rope, and they never established it to be anything else. But whatever. And then we have after some of the soul eaters, I guess, they get more souls inside the Dweller in Darkness's mouth, and then it's getting stronger, and then you can see its neck starts glowing purple. And when that happens, this old man, who's the man who taught Katie how to shoot an arrow, he's like, "Yo, you gotta hit the neck," and then both of them aim at the dragon's neck, but unfortunately, one of the soul eaters grabs the old man and just kills him, and Katie does nothing to stop it, nor does the old man fight back, even though he has an arrow in his hand that if he hits the fucking soul eater with, the soul eater just dies, but whatever. So I guess he's dead. And for some reason, nobody thought to hit the dragon's neck before Katie, and nobody had hit the dragon's neck by accident, even though they were firing arrows towards in the direction of the dragon for like a long time by this point. But I guess Katie's the one to make the shot. Then she hits it in the neck, just as it's trying to like get the Great Protector's soul, because if it does that, then it would be strong enough to destroy the world. And then that makes them be able to fight back against the Dweller in Darkness, and with a fight that I can barely understand what's going on. But then Shang-Chi, he uses the rings and throws them inside the Dweller in Darkness's mouth, and then he pulls them away with like using wind powers and using just the rings themselves, and he kills the dragon, and then they win. Oh yeah, there was actually also shit. I just remembered, just before Katie throws the arrow, Xialing was about to fall from the Great Protector, and Shang-Chi was holding her, and he's like, "Yo, I'm not gonna let you. not gonna leave you this time," because Xialing was like, "Yo, you gotta let me go." And if Katie hadn't hit the dragon in the neck, Xialing and Shang-Chi would have died at that moment, because they were being grabbed by the Dweller in Darkness with its tentacles. And I also find it really funny how Shang-Chi is retarded. He does not use the rings properly in that scene to try to save Xialing. So if she had died, it would have been completely his fault. So again, he's a fucking moron. But yeah, thankfully Katie, the best character in the film, is there to save everyone.
Mm-hmm. After a little practice with the bow and arrow.
Yeah. Oh,
nails that Dark Dweller in the neck.
And And you know what's funny? What's even funnier is that it was Katie's last arrow. So that's amazing.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, she confirms it in
Beautiful.
the last scene where they're talking to like their friends in the bar. She's like,
Oh,
"Yeah, well, this is
right.
my last arrow." Yeah, but yeah. So they beat the dragon with like some bullshit that I can't. It's hard to break down without the film here to show exactly what happens. And yeah, and then they have like a scene to where they do like one of those some burials, like ceremonies, just like remember the fallen soldiers, which I actually like that scene works, and I like the visuals because I just think it's a cool way, like culturally I think it's pretty neat, and I think it visually looks pretty cool when you just like pull I think these candles or whatever in the water and they just float away, and you're just
Mhm.
remembering the people that died. It's like, yeah, this is pretty neat. Hawkeye, who, yeah. Katie is the new Hawkeye. She's gonna become Kate Bishop. Oh no, her name is Kate. Oh no.
Katie Bishop.
Katie Bishop. Imagine if she actually does show up in Hawkeye. That'd be hilarious. But yeah, and then we have the scene at the bar where Katie explains that she learned archery the day before, and she also just happened to hit the dragon with her last arrow, and
Yeah, as it's like flying through the air, doing a bunch of twists and turns, and
yeah,
it's like hundreds of feet away.
with its wings also like coming in front of its neck all the time, considering how it's
Yeah.
what it uses to fly. But whatever. So yeah, and then Wong shows up when Shang-Chi and Katie are at the bar talking to their friends, and he's like, "Yo, what about those rings though?" And it's it's really funny that he shows up now instead of right after the fight ended, considering according to what they say, because they say 2 weeks before it's when it's the day before the bus fight happened. That means that that this has been at least a week since they beat the Dweller in Darkness, and for some reason Wong still hadn't shown up to talk to Shang-Chi. And to make matters even worse, for some reason Wong takes Katie with them. He's like, "Yo, you coming too?" But it's like, why? Katie doesn't matter. She's super worthless to you. I don't know why you want her to come with you. And then we have and that's the end of the film. And then we have the mid-credit scene that we have Wong analyzing the Ten Rings with Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel there. Captain Marvel's just like, "Oh, I never see anything like this from another dimension," and Bruce Banner's like, "Yo, we got to look more into this, analyze it, whatever." And then they see that it's like trying to send a message, and they also say that when Shang-Chi used when he started using the rings, they felt it in Camartage, or yeah, I think it's Camartage, which then means that definitely Wong
Right.
should have shown up before, and he just didn't. And it also just makes it worse because he says it's from another dimension, which obviously means that the sorcerer should have tried to get these rings like centuries ago, but the ancient one just never did, or sorcerer supreme's after her. It's dumb. And and for some reason Bruce Banner is Bruce Banner and not Professor Hulk, and they did not explain that, like not at all.
Nope.
Yeah.
After making him such a huge deal in Endgame and not even showing that development,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I guess he's just not Professor Hulk anymore. First, he wanted to avoid being Hulk, and then Ragnarok, he only wanted to be Hulk, and then he went back, and then he found the middle ground. But nope, he's back. He's back to Bruce Banner,
Yeah, it's just
and we don't see that development at all.
once again undermining his character. Like they're really doing Bruce dirty, which is a shame because I think he's a pretty good character in Avengers 2012 and in Age of Ultron, but whatever. And then we have the post-credit scene where fucking Xialing, she takes over the Ten Rings and now she's the leader. But now, you see, it's still a terrorist organization, but now women are allowed to fight. So, win, I guess. Great job. And they play the cringiest song I've ever heard, where it's like, we're out with the old gen, we're in with the new gen, or whatever the fuck. It's really cringy. So yeah, I guess the Ten
Oh,
Rings
is that what
is
the
still.
song was about? I
Yeah,
didn't pay attention to the lyrics.
dude. When it started playing, I started laughing so hard, and my friends were looking at me like, "What the fuck are you laughing about?" Like, they do not understand. And then I explained the lyrics, but it's just like, it's hilarious. That scene, it's really shit. And yeah, I think it's just really weird. Did Jack fall asleep?
Yep.
Second time he's done that. That's great. Um, what I think is weird is that Shining, in theory, she would have wanted to move away from the name, like of Ten Rings, right?
Yeah, yeah. I would hope so.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute Jeb. Um, but yeah, like because she
Sweet
hates
dreams.
her dad, like her dad's uh faction, I guess, of the Ten Rings, and she hates what they did with that, and she just kind of, if she actually just is a good person and wants to do good with the Ten Rings now, just change the name, like create it, like you can still build it
Yeah,
from
like
the
reboot the whole thing essentially from the ground up.
yeah
Like use it for good now, I guess.
Yeah.
Don't just like carry on the fucking name. That's not only it has a bad history from where they're from, but also it's connected to the terrorist group in Afghanistan, if that is even a thing still.
yeah. I don't know. I think
Or
there's
at least even if it wasn't a thing, you don't want that name floating around to this day.
I mean,
So
just
maybe rebrand it.
I mean, just from a like filmmaking perspective, you'd think visually you'd show like them painting over the Ten Rings symbol or some shit to show like, yeah, this is a new thing and she's trying to reform it. And it's just like, I don't think she would use it for bad, which I think it's really fucking strange. Like I don't think she would ever use the Ten Rings to do evil. So it's just like she keeps it, and the song is implied like, oh, she's this new terrorist leader. But I guess not.
Yeah, so strange.
Yeah. And that's it. That's the end of Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings. Fantastic film.
Mm-hmm.
I hard to rank it in Phase 4, because it's all shit. But yeah, I wouldn't say it is an improvement over what we've had in Phase 4 at this point. I'd say it's on par with most of it. Yeah, it's really shit. Nothing works. I think there was like one moment where I actually thought it was pretty good, like an actual moment rather than just like 1 or 2 seconds where like the acting was pretty fine or whatever. Like I think the only
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's just I think the only praise, like actual praise I can give the film, is that I thought the soundtrack was good, but other than that, it was really terrible.
Mm-hmm. I'd probably still, even after a second watch, still enjoy it more than Black Widow, just because she was already an established character for over a decade, and so there's a lot more to fuck up in that regard than like a clean slate like this. Even if it's still bad, it's like I'm not as pissed as what they did to her in her movie.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I guess in my head I just don't count a Black Widow as canon because obviously it can't exist as canon from the MCU as we know it. In my head, it's just kind of like, I guess, takes it away from the MCU, Black Widow, and Shang-Chi, whether it be like part of the MCU or just stand on its own, it just does not work at all, and it really annoys me, especially considering how many people were saying it's an absolute triumph.
Well, at least I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. This is the reason why I put it higher than Black Widow, is that it doesn't do damage to any pre-established characters. Well, maybe with the exception of
maybe
Wong.
Wong a little bit.
Wong, and I'd say the Ancient One.
At least he's not like a prominence.
Yeah, but she ain't in that. She ain't in it too much.
Well, Ancient One isn't in the film. The issue is that she should have dealt with the Ten Rings and Wenwu, and she just doesn't. She just ignores them.
But like in comparison to insulting Shield or Black Widow
Oh
as
no,
a
yeah,
character.
definitely. I'd say Black Widow is worse characterized simply because of Black Widow being such a great character for so long, and then she just is ruined.
And none of the characters are particularly horrible. They're just in this film. They're just inanely stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
isn't
I'd say their
great, but it's
motivations are pretty,
better.
especially when his motivation is contradicted all the time, with what he does and what he actually wants. But I don't think he, I don't know. I think he's probably better than Dreykov. Maybe not power level wise, but he's definitely better in terms of like character writing, because you can at least understand his motivation a bit better.
Mhm.
Yeah. This film is just really terrible. I've had to watch it twice, and considering I've taken my this time to take all these notes, and they're quite extensive, there is a chance I may make a video on it whenever the Blu-ray comes out. So we'll see. But yeah, thanks you guys for coming here and enduring what is Shang-Chi's story with me. It's been it's been quite fun.
Thanks for having me on.
I'd like to say it was a pleasure, but I'd be lying.
How dare you? But yeah, channels for both of them are in the description if anyone wants to check them out. And yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Say goodnight to Jeb, because little guy's already asleep. Yeah. We'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.
Good night, Jeb.
Good night, Jeb.
Bye.